Chapter 101. Our hero felt the power of Ladany of devastation and its harmful influence on vital energy in his body. Realizing that the enemy is not weak, he resolutely hit him in response. When this guy wants to see his coffin, refuse him twice will be impolite. Boom. Both put enough strength in the first strike. The palm of the Dendon, the inherited skill of the Chaos Sect, was strikingly strong, which forced Lu Yin to use all the 5 heavenly star palm lights available to him. With a loud clap, a powerful storm of ice air fell on the entire surrounding space. A passing group of cultivators hastily stopped and evaded the residual energy of the fighters, as well as the nearby Lulu, which was struck by the force of the collision. The attacks of both guys were similar to the bomb, and exceeded the level of the usual master of the sphere of the merger. Meng Yue was shocked that his palm of devastation was actually blocked. With this skill, he defeated many. Among them there were even a few strong masters of the merger. Both boys retreated, tearing the distance. The strength of the stranger surprised Lu Yin. Not many of them possessed such power in the sphere of the merger, but the guy in front of him was on the sphere below. Not bad, few people were able to stop my palm of devastation. What's your name? Asked Meng Yue excitedly. Our hero frowned. I do not have time to chat with you, get out of the way. The guy thought about something and looked at Lu Yin. He knew he had a great strength and excellent speed. If they fight seriously, he will most likely lose. My name is Meng Yue, remember it. Is he man? Another old name. The boy was amazed. Hey, if you want to fight, I can keep you company, suggested Lula, who was eager to scratch his fists. The guy looked at her. I'm not interested in women. The girl snorted. Don't look down on me. With these words, she appeared abruptly right in the face of Meng Yue and hit him with her foot. It was an ordinary blow, and although Lulu was very fast, the guy reacted immediately, putting the block in front of him. A new loud clap was heard. Meng Yue's pupils widened from the pain that arose in the right hand. The unstoppable force threw him aside, and he crashed into one of the mountains nearby, after which he rolled to the ground. The face of our hero was pulled, and he looked at the guy with sympathy. In vain, he angered this abnormal, which had an innate huge physical force. Switly looked down on me, so I got, let's go. The green-haired beauty waved Lu Yu's hand and flew forward to the end of the road. The young man looked again, where Meng Yue was lying, and then followed Lula. The young master of the sect of chaos through force forced himself to stand up. His right hand was broken by a direct blow of the girl's leg. The guy hurriedly took out the medicine and sat down on the ground to recover, while simultaneously scouring a mysterious pair of monsters. Lulu, why did you put it like this? Asked our hero. Why did he refuse to fight me? And why did he say he wasn't interested in women? I'm ugly. Lu Yin laughed weakly and noticed for himself that in the future it was better not to criticize her appearance. She was physically too strong. Most likely this power was the result of the influence of the gift of heaven. Until the end of the day, the couple did not meet any opponent. The test of the 10th starry sky was like a simple walk on a straight road. So few people were interested in battles, and only those like Meng Yue or people from the planet of the tempered flame were on their minds. However, the number of stellar monsters increased. Under the cover of darkness among the icy atmosphere, strange animals roamed here and there, with which the participants had to deal. Our hero and Lulu faced a very strong beast. Although all the creatures here were not higher than the sphere of the guard, they were invulnerable to weapons. Fortunately, the girl managed to hit the monster in the stomach, damaging his internal organs, which put an end to their battle. In addition to this beast, they also met a monster firing lightning. His shells were very fast, far exceeding the speed of the arrow of Gulbach. The couple had to simply escape from him because he was quite a trick. He did not want to tinker with him at all. Fortunately, this beast did not pursue them. Apparently, he only guarded its territory. In addition to various animals, there were many strange plants. The further the duet came, the more corpses met on his way. Everyone who managed to get to this place was the best at their level. Someone like Eid couldn't have gotten to get here. The Farapherd to Luanya Lars hid in fear and did not know what to do. Everyone who was with him died. He was left alone. It is not known how much time has passed, but the star that got into the sky suddenly began to exude the heat again. Such a sharp difference caught many by surprise, especially those who have now fought with someone. The collision of cold and warmth, as well as a sudden dazzling light from the side of the star, almost substituted our hero. He only managed to dodge on instincts, avoiding the blow of long stems of strange colors. The young man and his companion had to do a lot of energy to deal with an annoying weed. The further we go, the more heat. I think when we come to an end, we will be right over this star, Lulu complained. Lu Yin looked into the distance. Indeed, the first such star they have already passed, but it was not so hot then. Now they came to the finish line, but the second scorching that there is a Uran star, apparently, was right before the exit. It was relatively easy to withstand the heat, but combined with ubiquitous plants and endless monsters progressed has become more difficult. Competition on the roads for masters of the sphere of the guard was not serious, which could not be said about the ways of the merger. Jane Anna and Ho Zio Lin were knocked out of the trial. Faced with local monsters, the girls managed to defeat them, but because of the many wounds, they could not continue on the road. About 100 people participated in the test from the Dao Empire, but for the first day almost all of them were excluded, and 30 of them died. Such was the elite of the Diwu Empire, whose result upset many, including the immortal Yushin. Even more frustrating was the fact that the Locken was also excluded. The guy was the main master of the Space Hall and was the strongest in the younger generation of the Empire. His defeat meant the weakness of the whole country. Gulbach and Yan Gan have encountered each other, someone said. Dahlan nodded, realizing that this could happen, but Yan Feng still wanted to marry Wendy, so he and his subordinates should not spoil the relationship with the Dewey Empire. But in any case, they had nothing to worry about. Brother Grace surpassed the power of a fiery guy. The time went slowly. There were more and more spaceships around the 10 roads. Somewhere nearby, right in outer space, stood a man, probably a sky wheelie wanderer, who carefully looked at something far away. Far behind our hero, the young man grabbed his left hand and roared from pain. It was Yukai Madu, son of Shin Madu. The guy just attacked a strange plant that shattered the bones of his hand. Wukai went here without his father's knowledge. He was not weak, but he was not stronger than the same Lars, which was now hiding in the distance and trembled like an aspen leaf, unable to move on. The guy was covered in blood. His consciousness gradually faded, and he already began to think that this was the end. However, suddenly he was attracted by strange lines on the wall of the mountain, which was nearby. For some reason, they took possession of his consciousness. It was a combat skill using a fist. He had no name or origin. He was buried here and forgotten, but for Ukiah was a chance for a bright future. Lu Yin and Lula flew forward when they suddenly heard a loud roar. Flying a little further, they saw a huge beast height of 100 meters, the sharp clutches of which easily left deep traces on the ground. A crowd of masters fought fiercely against him, which had not yet known how to deal with it. No, our attacks cannot hurt him at all. We cannot break through this defense. We all need to hit him in one place. It will not work. It is not stupid at all. You need either another plan or retreat. Chapter 102. A few kilometers from them, sitting on a huge tree, a pretty girl watched how the battle with the beast takes place. Horror, it's not safe, you need to leave. No, too far away, what to do. Near the tree were Lu Yin and Lulu, but not only they came here, several hundred masters ran to the roar of the beast. The couple carefully considered the giant monster, but did not make hasty movements. He clearly surpasses them both in defense and experience. The girl faded. Why do they fight him then? The young man tried to find the lead, when suddenly he was attracted by the legs of the giant. No matter how the beast was attacked, he did not even take a step from his place. It seems that he is guarding something. Lulu was interested in it. Let's go there. I want to check how many blows this giant can endure. Our hero initially wanted to watch, but seeing that the girl had already rushed into battle, he helplessly followed her, not taking an eye from the district. He was well aware that none of him had an idea to sit down and perform in the end to take possession of all the laurels of victory. "Ar!" the beast roared, waving its huge tail. Lulu easily avoided the attack, but 10 other masters were unlucky. They were seriously injured. Observing a little from the side of Lu Yin, was surprised by such a fierce attack, not inferior in power to the 5 celestial luminaries of starry falcony. The biggest difference between people and monsters was their origin. People were able to create something new, compensating for their origin, but the animals relied solely on their body and abilities. Under the same conditions, the monsters were much stronger because they are adapted to the natural evolution of the body, unlike humans. For this reason, the difference at the initial levels of cultivation between the two races was huge. Lulu cried briskly and hit the giant with his right fist. Feeling the danger, the beast turned abruptly and decayed his mouth, trying to scare off the enemy, but the girl herself was not going to attack. She only distracted attention. At this time, our hero appeared behind the monster and almost simultaneously hit him with the skill of the 3 streams and the 20th stage of the celestial claw of the beast. There was a loud explosion, and the giant fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked by what they saw. They knew the power of the monster perfectly. His skin was almost unrealistic to punch, but this guy put him on the ground in a couple of seconds. Lulu appeared where the beast was previously standing. It turned out that the giant protected a small shining tree with the fruits of a pale yellow. "That's it," surprised the girl. The monster wore vigorously on the ground, trying to rise. Lu Yin noticed this and called his friend. "Lula, be careful." The girl hurriedly dodged, as immediately appeared the uninvited figure, which looked at her and decided to steal a small tree. Lulu, of course, it was angry, so she kicked the scoundrel. The figure decisively put forward the left hand, planning to stop the girl's attack. If here is Meng Yue, he would most likely be skewed from this picture, because he had previously got into a similar situation. The result, of course, was predictable. Lulu squirmed arrogantly, took several fruits and left. Our hero followed her. Almost immediately after that, the beast was able to rise from the ground and began to drive out the thieves that they wanted to encroach on his treasure. "How much did you get?" asked the young man. The green-haired beauty threw him 5 fruits, only 10, each in half. "Why are so few?" "It is necessary to leave something so that the fruits give sprouts to new trees, otherwise all treasures will disappear from this world. This rule has been followed by my family since ancient times." Lu Yin nodded and never asked questions. Suddenly, a large group of people appeared in front of them. "Friends, can you show what you got there?" said the man from the group. The young man looked at his girlfriend. "Let's deal with them quickly." When he agreed, he immediately disappeared, as Lulu. After a few tens of seconds, cultivators fell from the sky to the ground, who suffered a defeat at the hands of a powerful duet. Many masters who were nearby shuddered with horror, while rejoicing that they were not mistaken. It was not so easy to throw away that strong beast. This duo was definitely one of the strongest tests on the territory of the road. In the distance on a big tree, the girl exclaimed, "Amazingly, I do not know who he is, but he is not weaker than the older sister of Zal." While some distracted the giant monster, others at this time collected the fruit from a small tree, which he was protecting. At the same time, the fiery star in the sky again began to chill, which again immersed the road of testing in the dark and cold. Our hero and Lulu, without delay, set out on their way. When they began to move further away from this place, the girl sitting on a tree followed them. The test of the Starry Sky Academy was not easy. All this understood, faced with a lot of obstacles, but the participants thought that this was only the beginning. The cold atmosphere engulfed the earth, but it did not prevent people from doing what they wanted. But at some point of the road, the trials covered the loud roar of animals. He continued to grow and was heard from everywhere. Lu Yin stood on the ground and felt how it trembled. "We have problems. The animals freaked out. We need to hide." The couple accelerated towards the nearest mountain. It is not known when thousands of flying beasts appeared in the sky, which was speculated on a girl and a young man, as well as on the rest, who was nearby. After a while, the surrounding space was impregnated with blood. Our hero and Lulu had an amazing speed, so they calmly avoided the animals and systematically approached the mountain. At some point, a voice was voicey to voice. Lu Yin turned towards the sound when he suddenly saw a pretty girl, very young, not older than 16. She looked pale because of the wounds and could barely continue to evade enemy attacks. The young man frowned, stupid first. Then he rushed to the stranger. Lulu looked where he was rushing and hurried to the mountain. "Oh," the girl screamed, frightened, looking at the flying monster. At the very last moment, when the beast had to eat it with its mouth, our hero appeared that he took her in his arms and threw it towards the mountain. The stranger breathed hard, but continued to look closely around. There was a whole cloud of monsters around, obscuring a lot of space. They miraculously were lucky to reach the mountain and hide in a small cave, where they were waiting for Lula, who prepared a large stone, with which she immediately closed the passage. Having lost their prey, the beasts went to other victims, continuing to wander the havoc on the road of trials. After a while, Lu Yin looked out. Violent on the test reached its climax. Probably millions of young masters died from this invasion of animals. However, this was the reality. The strongest survive. "BBBB so much with placebo." The girl carefully examined the young man and stubbornly, in a whisper, to thank him. Our hero looked at her, but said nothing. Lula looked at a pretty stranger, then at the guy and asked with a mockery, "So what type you like?" Lu Yin was confused. "What?" The green hair laughed. The girl blushed and whispered, "My name is Coco. I'm from the Free Wind Hall." The boy nodded. Lulu was surprised. "The Wild Wind Hall. Is he not in the inner universe?" The girl nodded, embarrassed. Our hero looked at his friend. "Do you know something about him?" "Of course. The Free Wind Hall has excellent care of the healing skills, although this sect is not numerous, but it has a good reputation in the inner universe. Like Clever, they produce medicines, but they don't have the goal of getting rich. In truth, I don't know what they're looking for." Coco replied, "We are trying to save people." "To save? Why?" the young man asked. "The teacher told me that the more people we would save, the better our life would be." Lu Yin and Lulu looked over and then fell out at once. "You were fooled." When the chapters will be released, as well as other information you can find out in my Telegram channel, https://t.me/Ra the Fawn. Chapter 103. Coco opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she didn't come to her mind, and when she saw the blood on the right hand of our hero, she exclaimed, "You're injured." "It's okay, the wound is not serious." The girl excitedly said, "I will treat the wound. Otherwise, suddenly, there will be inflammation or pick up some strange virus that will kill you once or twice." Lu Yin raised his eyebrows in doubt. What exaggeration is exaggeration? "It's true." The young man was taken aback. Did the doctors really like to scare people? "Okay, you can help." Coco's eyes caught fire with shine. "Sit down." Seeing her exhilarating face, our hero had a bad feeling on his soul. Intuition did not fail him, because the next second in the hand of a pretty girl, there was a 3-meter syringe, next to which she looked very strange. Lu Yin and Lulu were shown, staring at a meter needle with a sharp tip. Inside the syringe was already a strange green liquid. In a word, everything looked like it was like an experiment on a young man-eviled scientist. Our hero has from the same idea that he was going to put this injection, numb legs, and he subconsciously took a couple of steps back. "What is it?" Coco, holding a hefty syringe, excitedly said, "Take off your pants, I will put the prick." Lu Yin swallowed the saliva and hurriedly refused. "No, I don't need your pricks. Everything will heal everything itself." The girl brazenly tarnished her leg. I will help you recover. If you do not cure everything at once, then there will be complications, and there will be late to complain. Our hero took a step back and firmly said, No, I'll deal with it myself. Coco looked at the young man's bloody arm, and with a syringe in her hand, dissolved like smoke. Only then did Lulu ask, Is that your gift of heaven? The girl returned to her timid and sweet view. I can treat various diseases, it is very useful, but unfortunately no one gives me a shot. Lu Yin rolled his eyes without being surprised at all. This goddamn syringe, the size of a giant, looked more frightening than a sword. Your gift is quite unique, the girl in green wondered. Coco smiled shyly. Suddenly, there was a roar from outside. Our hero looked out of the slit of the cave, thinking about how Hughes and others on the road, the merger, and what is about Grace, this stubborn girl. Did she immediately refuse the test or decided to take a risk? On the sequential road, things really were much more chaotic. Gulbach was unlucky. He was wounded by one of the monsters, but fate clearly favored him, allowing him to find a shelter, otherwise he would already have become someone's lunch. Almost the same thing happened to Jan Gang and other masters. In one of the valleys, where there were many scattered around the boulders, Tian Ming hid. He successfully avoided an animal invasion, but collided with the strongest young master of the sect of Nine Heaven, who also had enmity with him. Yin Hu in a light shock looked at Tian Mina. Ba, what people? I heard you've become one of the main masters of the Space Hall. Congratulations. I didn't expect to meet you here either, but it's even better, now I can take revenge for that time. The guy grinned. Revenge? You know how to joke, you are just a weakling, expelled from the sect of Nine Heaven, and all because you secretly studied the Nine Stream. You're just lucky that Diwu's empire decided to take a jerk like you, but nothing, I'm gonna help them get rid of shameful garbage. Having agreed, he hit Tian Mina with the palm of his hand, freeing up a powerful stream of waves, to which he responded in the same way. Both released 3 powerful waves, but the next moment Tian Ming felt a strong pain in the right palm of your right palm. The 4th stream, did you master it? Yin Hu laughed loudly. You, garbage, will never reach it naturally, so you will humbly accept death. After these words, on the part of the student of the sect of the Ninth Heaven, the 5th wave broke out. The right palm of Tian Min was broken, after which the remnants of the energy of the enemy attack hit him in the stomach. Yin, who stood on the same place with a proud look. That then you were a garbage, what is now? I'll do the favor for everyone by interrupting your miserable existence. The guy spit out a lump of blood and slowly lifted his left palm. At the same time, a lengthy animal roar was heard in the district, and everything in a radius of 100 meters was wrapped with ghostly animal claws, which were aimed at one person. The student of the sect of the Ninth Heaven was shocked by the fact that Tian Ming mastered the 43 stages of the heavenly beast. Before he managed to stop the attack, the claws at once hit him. Boom! The earth shook, and everything around the epicenter of the battle plunged into the smoke. When the smoke dissipated, the guy saw only the surviving head of Yin Hu, who was still looking at him. He took revenge, but the test for him was over. The riot of the animals lasted the day, which became hell for many. Monsters chased everyone they saw with a desire to kill. In front of people, friends, relatives, and loved ones died, but they could not do anything. They only had to clog into the corner and wait. When the invasion ended, the ice star again began to radiate the hot heat. Everyone who was able to survive the horror felt warmth and began to gradually get out of the shelters. The group of Lu and Ya came out of the cave and immediately felt not only hot air, but also the disgusting smell of rot with blood. You, well do. Coco's face turned green and she shut her mouth. Looking at the district, you could see a lot of mutilated bodies of people. The test began to be similar to the real purgatory. This immediately reminded the young man for the first 6 months on Earth after the apocalypse. Everywhere and always there are weak and strong. No matter how high the temperature, it could not melt the cold in the hearts of people. Lars barely escaped the beast, and in full horror wanted to return to the Dewey Empire. Those who do not want to continue participating in the test, shout 3 times, give up. The rest will have to take 3 attacks. You will survive or die will depend on you. A loud, cold voice was heard on the void of space, which could be heard everywhere, even on spaceship ships near the roads of testing. Everyone who heard the announcement blurted out his face. If they stay, they will be in danger again. Our hero looked up puzzled. Coco was so frightened that she almost cried. I give up, I give up, I give up. Someone shouted near Lu Yin, which also previously hid in the grief. Soon there was another vote from somewhere. I give up, I give up, give up. The votes were further and further. Many were going to leave the test. But there were also those who did not want to give up. They wanted to go to the end. Coco, are you not giving up? Asked Lulu. The girl looked at the sky in fear, then shook her head. I will not. The master said that the students of the Free Wind Hall are not underwear. Our hero looked at her and suddenly wanted to meet her master to understand what kind of person he is. That guy's leg is broken. I need to help him. Coco spotted the wounded nearby and ignited by the desire to cure the poor man. You're just scaring him, Lulu said. The girl innocently blinked her eyes, but I want to help him. Let him go, he has already suffered. The young man also tried to stop her. Coco again upset the head. Soon it became very quiet around. At some point, Lu Yin and his green-haired friend simultaneously bounced in different directions, to which their new friend was surprised. The couple looked silently into the sky, realizing that something would happen now, and they will have to confront it alone. The young man sighed deeply, and an invisible attack immediately rushed at him, but since he was ready, he easily avoided it with the flickering of the void. As a result, the attack hit the mountain, leaving a deep imprint in it. At the same time, Lulu and Coco were also under attack. The green-haired beauty easily evaded the attack, but the girl did not dodge. She took out her syringe and lifted it over her head. At the next moment, the invisible force hit a giant object, throwing Coco to the side. Lulu and our hero rushed to look at her, but almost immediately realized that she was whole. The syringe helped her block the punch. Chapter 104. They managed to withstand the first attack, but the same could not be said about others around. The low guy who was just higher on the mountain was crushed by a silo of invisible force. The Starry Academy, obviously, was not going to show mercy. Lu Yin looked at his personal terminal, where he saw how the surrounding points with a combat level 1 after another disappeared. After the first attack, everyone who wanted to continue the test felt the severity of the academy. Someone managed to withstand it, and someone did not. A similar situation occurred on the roads of the merger. In addition to Hughes and Zia Lo, all the others from the Diu Empire either surrendered or met death. I give up, I give up, I give up. Someone shouted, realizing that if the first attack was so powerful, the next 2 will be even stronger. The roads for the Masters of the Guard were long, but they had an end. Some of the first participants have already reached it, where they saw a pillar of light, which was the finish line. The heat emanating from a fiery star in this place almost melted the earth. Several cultivators who rushed to the pillar of light experienced an incredible thirst. From time to time, they hid in the shadows of the mountains, and the distraught drank water, which they brought with them, but only for a long time. It was not enough. I will not give up. I want to go to the academy, I must, muttered a woman, staring at the pole of light in the distance. Once at the finish line, no one wanted to retreat, despite the danger of death. At this point from above, a second attack appeared from the top, from which the stranger tried to dodge. Although she was not as fast as Lulu and Lu Yin, she had the ability to avoid the first attack. The second was much faster. The blow came through it, and with a loud crying her body crashed into the ground. In the district, more than a dozen cultivators suffered the same fate. No one could dodge. The woman coughed, slowly soared up and looked around her. Her eyes immediately sang because she saw a strange man. It was common, but his body glowed weakly, like a ball of fire. He stood in emptiness and proudly looked at all the survivors. During the past 2 attacks, even his clothes were not damaged. He calmly walked forward, laying his hands behind his back, and quietly looked around, approaching the finish line. The woman felt terrified and froze. This man was much stronger than her, but who is he? Someone from the Starry Sky Academy. It must be How, otherwise, how could he have avoided the second attack? Far from the finish, Lu Yin and Lulu successfully struggled from the second blow, but this time they managed it with difficulty. It was obvious to both of them that the third attack would have to be taken in the forehead. Meanwhile, Coco continued to defend herself with her strange gift, the steadfastness of which should have been enough for the third blow. Speaking of her syringe, his needle was unimaginably strong. 2 attacks didn't even blunt her down. As soon as our hero looked at her gift with curiosity, the third attack followed. Although the young man did not see the blow himself, he could predict his trajectory, but he still fell on him and threw him in the direction of the mountain. Lulu was pushed into the ground. Coco tightly hugged a large syringe, blocking the attack, but the residual energy threw it somewhere far to the side, to the foot of the mountain. It was not yet known how many people survived the last attack. Near the finish line, pale like paper, the woman experienced severe pain. She barely withstood the last blow, unlike a shining man, which turned into a sea of flames, easily avoiding an attack. The woman gritted her teeth, fell to her knees and hurriedly got the medicine, while watching a mysterious man. She realized that she was wrong, because if he was attacked, then he was also one of the subjects. The man waved his hand, driving the surrounding heat, and then looked into the sky. The third blow was good, everyone who coped with him, the ability not to occupy, but unfortunately none of them will join you, since the 10th branch is doomed to disappear. Having agreed, he looked at his terminal and grinned. Earlith 7, in this case it's time to end with them. The finish, including the woman, 3 attacks were withstood by only 7 people who at that very moment were looking at the man. A stranger with an arrogant smile said loudly, "My name is Arton. I have come from the domain of the flame, which is in the inner universe. No one can go any further, you are better off." 7 masters were shocked. The domain of the flames of the inner universe. That dangerous area filled with fire. Why is her student here? The woman trembled with fear. Now she began to understand why the man was so strong and relaxed, being under the heat of the star hanging over them. No matter what they thought of themselves, Artina didn't care. His mission was simple, but at the same time responsible, not to let anyone pass the test. There were 9 more people like him, each was at the end of the road. On the Dao spacecraft, Dalin's expression was unsightly. What's going on? Why did the disciples of the inner universe come here, and why do they prevent others? Rocky On was saddened to report, "Your Majesty, we have just received the news. All of them have been sent by the 5th princess. She learned through the Mountain of the Idolites that the 3 main forces of the inner universe wanted to replace the 10th Starry Sky and get their quota for entering the 9 worlds of trials. So she sent these people so that they would not allow the academy to recruit students." "What forces have you come here?" asked Ho Ching Shan. "The domain of flame, the Ross Empire and the Dragon Clan Sylvan." The Crown Prince's face turned pale. All 3 forces were real giants of the inner universe. Compared to them, the Da Empire was like a primitive planet. Ho Ching Shan was not more shocked. He was in the inner universe and experienced the power of the flame domain. Even then, he was very impressed by the power of the master of that place. If there are people from the flame domain, who can pass the test? Ju Lun said in a low voice, "The Ross Empire is a huge country that is said to have the technology of an ancient, highly developed civilization. The most dangerous of them is the Sylvan clan, the dragon family, which betrayed the star region of the beasts, joining the human star region. Any adult Sylvan is so strong that it has no equal," Dalin said. The 3 great forces were like the 2 highest mountains, causing only fear and admiration. At this point, not only the Diwu Empire, but also other forces of the outer universe received a report about this, which plunged everyone into silence. The 10th starry heaven is the hope of rebirth of the outer universe, but it was encroached upon by three great forces. These forces tried not for them, but for themselves. They generally did not care about the outer universe, which, of course, caused great indignation among the locals. When the people of the three great forces appeared, the 10th branch hastily organized the meeting. Are they so eager to destroy us? They are not examiners. They have no right to decide who to go further and who does not. But they don't break the rules. Then we will consider them the last test. Initially, our test in relation to the outer universe was simple. With them, it will meet the standards of other branches. No one will be able to get them out here. Everything will depend on fate. If we no longer need this world, then let the 10th branch disappear. After all, this place is like prison for us. Meanwhile, Lu Yin climbed out of the rubble of the mountain and looked up. The last blow was powerful, but within its capabilities. Turning his head, he found the Lula who got out of the ground, and then found a pain-shake Coco. When the girl saw that the green-haired beauty and the young man were safe and unharmed, she was first disappointed, but then happily exclaimed, "You're fine." Lulu was fooled by his lips. "Have you hoped to treat us?" "No." The girl hurriedly shook her head and took the syringe. In truth, she really thought she could do them a prick, but she was unlucky again. Our hero looked around, noting that there was almost no one around, even animals. Probably now the complexity of the path will significantly decrease, which means that it remains only to go to the end. Come, we need to get to the finish line. Chapter 105. The girls nodded, and the band flew on. Along the way, Lu Yin checked the county, but, with the exception of a couple of star animals, there was no one else. Soon, under the scorching rays of the star, a group of the young man saw a shining pillar of light in the distance, marking the end of the road. "Almost gotten," said Coco happily. The eyes of our hero shone with anticipation. Millions of masters took part in the test, but how many of them managed to reach the end and how strong were they? I was looking forward to it. At this time, at the end of the other road, the guards in front of a large group of cultivators stood a huge beast, although it was not a huge dragon of the Sylvan clan. In the universe, the generally accepted divisions of outer space were adhered only to the external universe. As for the inside, everything was different. Also in the circles of the strongest were divisions into huge stellar regions. For example, the human race had its own region, like the star monsters, and they constantly fought each other. The Sylvan clan is one of the forces of the Starklans, which after the last Great War moved to the region of the human race and sided with people. The Sylvans had deer horns, a snake body, rabbit eyes, and bull's ears. They had sharp claws and two large but thin wings glowing in dark red, as well as a large ball on the tail, similar to a mace. What is it?" someone exclaimed in horror. The people were confused. The Sylvans lived in the inner universe, so few locals ever saw them. Feeling the terrifying aura of the dragon, everyone stopped and did not know what to do next. At some point, the two figures rushed to the ray, trying to bypass Sylvana on the side. The ferocious eyes of the dragon concentrated on the two masters. The next moment, an exact Ribeiro appeared next to him, after which both Sylvans hit the braids with tails. There were two powerful cotton and cultivators were thrown back, or better to say, what was left of them flew around. Everyone sighed hard. The speed of the monster was incredibly high, which did not converge with its size. "Ants, here you will meet only your death, fail," the dragon roared. That's just the people did not want to give up. They already withstood 3 attacks, and to retreat only because they were told no one wanted. "Let's all run forward at the same time. Who is lucky, he will be lucky," someone who agreed with. A couple of seconds later, a dozen masters rushed to the pillar of light at maximum speed. The dragon was roaring. His vast body began to clone again until he completely blocked the road to the pillar of light. After that, the beast began a massive attack, killing or forcing people to retreat. Having dealt with the wave of madmen, Sylvan shook his bloody claws, as if he was disgusting that he tarnished himself with blood. "You can't pass, fail," the dragon proudly shouted and rushed forward to another group of masters. But his hasty decision played a cruel joke with him. Suddenly, a silver ray swept over his head. The stunned Sylvan turned abruptly and saw the figure wavering him, which stood behind him, and then disappeared in the aisle. No one expected this, not even the dragon. Sylvan stared at the pillar of light, and then roared. The feeling of shame that engulfed him was so huge that he almost fainted, but managed to keep himself conscious. He understood that he could not change what had happened, but to get rid of rage in his heart, he had no choice but to kill all the people who remained here. On another road, the guards at the end was a cyborg. His name was Manco. He came from the Ross Empire, which inherited ancient technology and was able to modernize human bodies, making them almost immortal. The masters of this country were not fully cultivators, but were a symbiosis of technology and cultivation. In front of the cyborg, there was also a group of subjects, but no one could pass. With him was even heavier than with the dragon. His technological weapon was powerful and ubiquitous. Manco's weapons did not exceed the power of the limits of the guard, so it was not considered scam. Even the Star Sky Academy could not object to this. PZZ tilde. The violet wave of energy swept through the ground, incinerating its surface and throwing back all cultivators. The cyborg was like an uncrimogened fortress and shot at all powerful tools, which could not be protected by any ordinary master of the sphere of the Guardian. Forget that the 10th starry sky is closed to you. There is nothing to do garbage from the outer universe here. Manco behaved arrogantly, since he was a native of the inner universe. All those gathered around were angry with his arrogant words, but nothing could be done. At this time, a figure appeared in the distance, which rushed directly to the pillar of light. She carried an ordinary long sword, but exuded a ferocious aura. Cyborg intended to stop her, but when he saw the figure, his eyes were engulfed by shock. A man from the mountain of the unnoticed swords? Why did he come to the 10th starry sky? As a result, the mysterious figure calmly passed through a column of light. Meanwhile, the Lu Yini group reached the end of their road, where Arton appeared in front of them, similar to a fiery wall, which was impossible to cross. The young man quickly asked about the man and why he forbids to pass through the passage. The House of Fire. He heard that this is one of the strongest spheres of influence in the inner universe. Why do people block their way? Does he not want the 10th starry to get students? Hop tilde. Lulu punched her palm, as if threatening Artina. Who would have thought that I would have seen a man from the flame domain here? That's how luck. After these words, she rushed to attack a ardent man. How dare you provoke my domain of the flame? Arton mockered, enraged by the determination of the girl. The famous combat skill of the domain of the flame was called the Raging Fire of Heaven. The man used the fiery energy of the star above him, increasing the power of his skills several times. When he directed his hand towards Lulu, a sea of flames appeared behind him, which was ready to burn everything around. In the face of such a powerful attack, a green-haired girl looked excited and confidently struck with her fist. Her attack looked ridiculously simple, but immediately pushed the flames back and rushed to Arton. Although the man behaved arrogantly, he was not so stupid, so he hurriedly escaped from the fist of Lulu. However, because of this, the flame formed by him finally dispelled. Arton realized that this girl would be troublesome, but he did not hesitate to again call a huge cloud of flames, which was even more than the first time. The hot star over them was for him a kind of battery, which he used without hesitation. The new attack of the man had a large area of defeat. In an instant, except for a few people, which were quite fast, the rest received severe burns or burned to the ground. Lulu, located in the epicenter of the collision, with a punch cut through a passage through a flame and again appeared before Arton. There was no plan in her tactics because she held a simple philosophy. Either she had enough strength or not. The unsuspecting man did not have time to block the blow. The girl's fist hit him on the top and sent him straight to the ground. Our hero was surprised by the terrifying power of Lulu. He was still trying to figure out if it was her personal gift or whether it was the power of the Mobius family. "Amazing, she's even better than Sister Zala. Is she in the Guardian?" exclaimed Coco. Lu Yin picked up the girl and flew up with her to Lulu, who immediately asked him, "Well, am I cool?" "Come on, there's not much time," the young man replied indifferently. Coco nodded, continuing to look at Lula with admiration. "Sister, I think you better not show your strength, otherwise you will not find a guy for yourself. You see, even Lu's brother didn't get it." The girl snorted. "Yes, after me, the crowds of men run because I am a real beauty. If they are built in a row, then the queue will end somewhere in the inner universe." Coco did not doubt this, but for some reason she got her syringe. "Sister, do you have something hurt? Let's put the prick." Lulu immediately shrugged her off, shuddering from the girl's syringe, which seemed even worse than the raging fires of Artina. Chapter 106. In addition to 3, the rest were either seriously injured or dead. Lu Yin silently stepped 1 foot into a pillar of light and disappeared abruptly. When the young man was inside, he heard a calm voice. "Age and cultivation correspond to the declared, the test passed. You are allowed to enter the 10th starry." At the same time, Dalan and others monitored the results. The people wondered if anyone from the D Empire would be able to pass. If not, their country will be mocked by the whole universe. However, no one could help in this. The 3 powerful forces of the inner universe interfered with the test, and no one knew how it would end. "The names of all who pass the pillar of light will be marked, so we will know the results anyway," said Rakion. The Crown Prince and the rest nervously stared at the big screen, divided into 10 parts. Each of the parts belonged to one of the 10 roads of testing. They had to see the test results. On one of the roads of the guards, suddenly appeared the name Silver from the Diu Empire. On another road, the guards also appeared the name Zhao Ilan from the Mount of the Idle Swords. Dalan and others stared in the name of Silver in confusion. "Who is it? Did we bring him here?" One of the subordinates took out the list of participants. "Prince, no, apparently he came here himself." Dalan immediately ordered, "Check him. He is clearly not an ordinary person since he came here alone." "Yes." Ho Ching Shan looked at Zhao Ilong. "What does a man do from the Mount of the Inconspicuous Swords?" The Crown Prince shrugged his shoulders. "The 5th sister should know him. I will ask her about it." The test on the road of the guards was relatively lighter than that of the merger, so the results there appeared earlier. Soon began to display information from the last road of the guards, which Dalan carefully looked at with the rest. The people hoped to see at least one man from the Diu Empire. The first name that appeared belonged to Lulu. Its origin was obvious to everyone. No one was surprised that she had reached the finish line. After all, the Mobius family was even stronger than the 3 forces, which prevented people from completing the test. The second was Coco from the Wilderness Hall. There are also people of the sect of the Free Wind from the inner universe. It seems that even in that place, 10th starry sky means something, Rocky said. After that, the third name appeared, Lu Yin from the Diu Empire. When the people saw the name of the young man, all were out of joy. Our hero was a native of their empire and was King Zishan. Although they already had Silver, but for everyone the man was too mysterious, so he was not as severe as Lu Yin. Rocky nodded approvingly, boasting to himself to the young man for the fact that he was able to enter the 10th branch. Let his status as King Zusheng was only the name for all, but the fact that he managed to enter the 10th starry sky has said that he deserves the Aeon family. In addition, he will be able to correct his dignity by this success after the break of the marriage contract with Wendy. Ho Ching Shan looked at the name of our hero and thought about something. Ju Lan from the beginning to the end was silent. No one knew what was on his mind. The Crown Prince laughed excitedly and immediately contacted the Empire. He wanted to convey the good news. "Your Highness, wait. Let's wait for the results of the merger." Ho Ching Shan stopped him. Dalan nodded. "That's right, I'm too impatient." The pillar of light at the end of the road was a kind of wormhole, which moved the Lu Yin group to a platform of green stone. The platform was small, all covered with moss. The young man with the girls looked around, and when they heard the sound of the rain, they looked up and saw various plants towering to the sky. The rain filled this forest with water, which on the ground flowed into the river, which stretched somewhere in the distance. Our hero turned around and suddenly saw a familiar smiling face. Silver. I haven't seen each other in a while. Lu Yin did not expect to see him here. Besides, the man clearly passed the exam earlier than he did. There was also another figure who calmly stood far from them, holding a long sword in his hands and exuding a ferocious aura, which even frightened the rain. "A student of the Mariant Swords," exclaimed Coco, looking at a guy with a sword. Our hero was surprised, because he had already heard about this sect, where Wendy studied. Lulu looked excitedly at the guy, then the silver-haired man. The girl's fists itched. She wanted to fight, but Coco quickly stopped her. There were many strong organizations in the inner universe, so it's no surprise that the guy with the sword passed the test a little faster. At the moment, Lu and I was more interested in Silver. The man progressed as quickly as he did, and somehow was associated with the new League of Mankind. The young man noticed that the Silver was looking up somewhere. After his gaze, he saw the dark blue sky, but nothing remarkable was in him. The roads of the merger were more authentic than the roads of the Guardians, but even in this case, there were strong masters who got to their end. A group of 5 people looked at the pillar of light with excitement. "Finally, my brother man, it will be even more difficult. We may encounter opponents from the inner universe." The news that the 3 great forces from the inner universe hinder the test have reached the test. Some of this immediately surrendered. Only a few decided to continue the path. Meng Tao was a native of the Chaos sect and was one of the top 3 young masters. His sect was the strongest in the ancient Chaos sector and despised all those who escaped from the battlefield. When the guy and his comrades came closer to the pillars of light, there were already about 20 people. They were hindered by a huge dragon from the Sylvan clan, whose furious aura plunged many into horror. Without taking his huge eyes off people, the dragon said in a powerful voice, "My name is Lun Jiu, remember well, because I am the one who did not allow you to enter the Starry Academy." The people gathered around were wildly evil. Meng Tao came forward and stood in front of Sylvan. "I'm a Man Tao from the Chaos sect. I want to challenge you." Lun Jiu looked at him with a grin. "Okay, let's go." A minute later, the guy was torn into 2 parts by a powerful dragon's mouth. Those watching were shaking their knees. The power of Meng Tao was one of the best among them, but even this was not enough against Lun Jiu. "Let's attack together, it's just one," the woman said. The people immediately cheered up. They liked this idea, but not the dragon, who shouted loudly, "Who dares to stand in the way of my clan's Sylvan?" At the next point, more than 20 fusion masters attacked the dragon at the same time. Lun Jiu was extremely angry. His huge eyes were desperately looking for a man who incited a crowd at him. He heard a female voice, so he directed his attacks at them, because of which he missed a couple of people to the pole of light. But the dragon could not allow failure. He quickly created 4 of his avatars and rushed to the cultivators. His speed was so astounding that he managed to overtake people and obscurate the whole passage with himself and his clones. Chapter 107. The claws of Lun Jiu wandered one of the cultivators, but suddenly he felt the danger of someone who had enough power to threaten him. While the dragon twisted his head in search of this man, the silver needle plunged into his tail, causing heartbreaking pain. The one who hit the balloon on his tail, similar to the mace, was quite summed up. This ball was one of the main weaknesses of the Sylvan clan. Many forces in the inner universe knew about it, but few people could break through the defense of this ball. That is why Lun Jiu did not cover this place, believing that he would not meet such a person here. Although the silver needle only a couple of centimeters plunged into the ball, the dragon was incredibly painful. Let it not win it, but you could buy time and slip into the pool of light. Taking advantage of the moment, when Lun Jiu fell to the ground from pain, losing control of the battlefield, a woman with silver needles in her hand went through a pole of light. The dragon quickly recovered and, overwhelmed with rage, began to take out his anger on others. On the green stone platform occasionally got drops of water. Lu Yin looked into the sky, listening to the rhythm of the rain, and gradually immersed in a trance with the thought that there was some kind of mystery in this place. Lulu also plunged into a kind of meditation. At this point, a figure appeared on the platform who surprised people. The man who arrived looked mediocre, his clothes were simple, the only thing that prevented others from throwing his eyes off him, his black hair. They were so black that they seemed to absorb the whole world around them, like a black hole. Because of them, his face looked quite creepy. The man ignored the crowd and silently took a comfortable place for himself. Almost at the same time, a woman appeared on the platform. "Hurrah, the older sister of Zal," exclaimed Coco. The woman was happy to see the girl. "Coco, you're fine, you're not hurt." The girl shook her head and began to examine her sister. "And you, what about you? All right, you got any injuries?" Zola skated with her head. "I'm healthy." "Oh, Tilda," Coco was disappointed. "Sister, let me introduce you. This is the older brother of Lu Yin, and this is Lulu's older sister. Thanks to them, I was able to pass the test." The girl quickly introduced to the woman her new acquaintances. The young man looked at Zal, suggesting that she was also from the Wild Wind Hall. Lulu's attitude towards her was more indifferent, but she behaved politely. The woman thanked the couple and took the youngest aside, where she began to say something to her. On one of the roads of the fusion under the scorching heat, there was a dead silence. There were bloodied corpses around, and in front of them the dead master of the Empire Ross, who was turned into a bunch of mushrooms with scrap metal. Incredibly, the gift of the heavens of that black-haired is just creepy. That's just his character. It will be difficult with him. Nothing, such a student of our academy, was not enough. On two pillars of light appeared two names. One of them was the name of Zal from the Hall of the Freewind, and the second only name without origin, Heisu. Another day passed almost unnoticed. At the finish line on one of the roads of the merger in front of a group of cultivators was Proud Ashar. He was one of the natives of the palm of the Plaimni domain. Besides, he was among the top 5 of his generation. To win over someone among the local cultivators, was almost impossible. Suddenly, a fiery star over them began to freeze, changing the hot atmosphere to the icy. The masters of the merger were wildly pleased with this, because now the man had nowhere to draw additional energy, which means that they could challenge him. However, when the burning flame escaped from the body of Ashara, everyone again felt despair. His fiery gift of heaven, complemented by the fiery skills of the domain of the flame, deprived others of even a chance to win. The man liked to see the hopelessness on the faces of his opponents, so he looked down on them and laughed at them. But suddenly next to the fiery Ashara, there was a graceful figure with red pupils and white hairs like the snow that a seductive gate was in the pole of the world. Many loudly swallowed the saliva, staring at this beauty, walking on the ground with barefoot legs. When she disappeared in the aisle, everyone was puzzled to the man, wondering why he did not stop her. Ashara, of course, did not stop her because he recognized the girl. It was Michelle, who was also known as the Demon of the Red Lotus. She is Mila's younger sister, the one that was directly related to 10 judges of the Youth Council. It is best not to be at war with such a person. After a whole day of waiting, a new person appeared on the platform. As soon as people saw Michelle, everyone, including the silent Zhao Ilan and the mysterious black hair man, looked at her. The girl was so beautiful that even Coco involuntarily clogged his heart. Lu Yin stared at her and saw Mila in her image for an unknown reason. Of course, Michelle's appearance was seducing, but her face was cold. After examining everyone, she stopped paying attention to people and looked into the distance. No one came up to her because everyone who passed the test was not so stupid and weak. Such beauty could not subdue them. Shortly after the girl, another man appeared, Meng Yue from the Chaos sect, which was the same expensive as our hero. Since Artina killed Lula, anyone could safely complete the test, but unfortunately, only a guy left survivors in that place. Meng Yue first looked at Lu Inya, then with a fear of a green-haired girl, after which he stepped aside. The time began to drag. For many it was unbearable, especially for such an impatient person as Dalen. He was waiting for results on the Smilation Road, which was the masters of the Diwu Empire. The cold atmosphere of the road not only complicated the way, but also weakened the will. At this time, Hughes and the others experienced all this on himself. There was a cyborg ahead, and next to his legs lay about a dozen corpses. I said you can't pass. The gulf between the inner and outer universe is like a distance between the earth and the sky, said the man in a rough voice. The cultivators gathered around shuddered. This man was a real monster. Each attack threw them into a trembling. It was clearly far superior to the level of merger. Hughes squeezed his fists and came forward. As one of the masters of the Dao Empire Space Hall, he was the only one who reached this place. The guy could not retreat. He needed to enter the 10th starry sky so that Princess Wendy would not look down on them again. Cyborg impatiently turned his mind. If you take another step, you will die. But Hughes did not stop his words. He lifted his bloody red sword and vehemently cut his opponent. A bright flash cut through the space, pressing on all with its strength. For everyone, such power was a shock because no one expected that there was someone so strong among them. However, the most powerful blow of the guy turned out to be a trifle for the master from the Empire Ross. That with his shot he dispelled him, and then, kissing Hughes in the heart, shot again. The guy had no choice but to put a sword in front of him, but he immediately broke, not holding the power of the shot for a second. At that moment he felt a powerful force. She was insurmountable and was far beyond his imagination. When everyone thought Hughes was going to die, the power of the shot was abruptly gone. Everyone looked at the guy questioningly, wondering how he survived this attack. Hughes himself looked at the cyborg and immediately understood what was going on. It is not clear from where, but behind him there was a man with a slight smile. He had already seen him once. He was a master of the Diu Empire, but not a member of the Space Hall. "Who are you?" asked the master from the Empire Ross in a cold tone. "I'm Xia Lo. I suggest you miss me and him," the man said, pointing to the guy. Okay. Xia Lo nodded Hughes, then went to the pillars of light. The guy's look was confused. How could a master from the inner universe be so intimidated by a stranger who came from the D Empire? Everyone else watched Hughes, and a man walked into the aisle. Cyborg didn't stop them because he was scared. Just a moment ago, he felt the taste of death. His system sensors trumpeted that the enemy was superior to his strength. Who is he? How could someone like this be in the outer universe? Chapter 108. At the same time, Dalen and others were pleasantly surprised to see Hughes' name on the pillar of light, and next to him, Xia Lo. 2 masters of the Diwa Empire passed the test, which could cause the envy of many other forces of the outer universe. Haha, Hughes did as expected from one of the best young masters of my empire, Diwu. The crown prince was happy. Ho Ching Shan and the others were nodded. The fact that the younger ones were able to pass the test, as well as to overcome the interference in the form of masters of the inner universe, said that their youth became stronger. "Who's Xia Lo?" asked Rocky. Everyone shrugged his shoulders. Then Dalen ordered to make inquiries, but in the end he was refused. "What? Yeah, is his identity classified? So we will have to ask about him from his father," said the crown prince, and then loudly said, "4 masters passed the test from our empire. This is a great achievement we need to celebrate." It's not very good. The 3 great forces of the inner universe tried to prevent the academy from recruiting students. Therefore, that 4 of our younger ones have passed. They clearly do not like it, said Julan. Ho Ching Shan snorted. And what about that? We are not afraid of enemies. Our empire has always relied on military power. While they were arguing, Dalin reported on the success of the emperor. The old man was so happy that he announced a tax cut and gave the entire working class a day off. However, despite such a festive atmosphere, one person was extremely angry. Barzil saw that Lu Yin passed, which meant that in the future the guy would pose a threat to him. Remembering about the miserable defeat of Maha, a big man with anger hit the ground. At this time in the palace of the emperor, the immortal Yuishin looked at the hologram of a beautiful girl with a serene look. "Father, you should not have sent people to the 10th star heaven." The old man took a sip of tea and said, "The gap between the outer and inner universe is too large. We must shorten it." "It's impossible. You yourself were in the inner universe, and you must know how great its power is. Do you think that a couple of young masters can change the situation? They will only realize that they will never be able to overcome this difference in their lives," Wendy said. The emperor stared at his daughter. "My dear, you're too arrogant. The universe lives by its own laws. Today you are strong, and tomorrow you don't know what will happen in the future. When I go to another world, who will defend the empire? You don't want to come back, so my hope lies in this youth." The girl still behaved indifferently. "Enough. The Dewis Empire is just a speck of dust in the universe. I don't understand why you're holding up on her. Okay, I can't do anything about you, but I want to remind you that the Starry Sky Academy is not some kind of springboard for development, where those people will understand how insignificant they are and how ridiculous it was to send them there." After these words, Wendy finished the call. The immortal Yushin looked into the void and sighed. He understood what his daughter led to, but if the frog kept thinking that he could not get out of the well, then, of course, she will never get stronger. The rain continued to drizzle, filling the surrounding forest with moisture. Lu Yin took a look at Xia Lo, and Hughes just arrived. The man smiled at all with our hero, not at all surprised that the young man was already here. Hughes looked around. 11 people were present here, 6 in the Guardian and only 5 in the merger. It turns out that only 3, with the exception of him and Xia Lo, successfully reached the end of the merging road. The nearby Silver looked at the man, and he accidentally turned to him, which is why both met with glances. The Silverwave continued to smile, but Xylo was obviously not happy with him. Right in the middle of the two, another newcomer appeared. Lu Yin looked at him and frowned abruptly because he had black and white hair, which was a symbol of the Bai Yi clan. This figure attracted the attention of not only the young men, but also all the others. No one expected a man from the Bai Yi clan. The man with black and white hair was arrogant. Looking back, his gaze stopped at Michelle, the presence of which clearly surprised him. At this point, a voice was heard in the space. "The test is completed. 12 people successfully passed it, with which I congratulate them." As soon as this verse, the second name appeared on the pillar of light that Zhao Alun had previously passed, Hui Bai Yi. Our hero took his eyes off from a man from the Bai Yi clan and looked up at the sky. There was no one there, but it seemed that the voice was heard from there. "Once again, congratulations to everyone who was accepted. The Academy has prepared 5 gifts for you, but they are hidden in the rain. Whether you find them or not will depend on your luck." Everyone has become somewhat excited, because gifts from the Academy should not be something simple. Lu Yin looked thoughtfully up, trying to figure out what it means in the rain. 12 masters, everyone thought differently, but looked at the rain that without irrigating the earth. Michelle came to the corner of the green platform and looked east. Xia Lo did the same. Hui Bai Yi repeated behind them. Let him be only in the sphere of the guard, but no one looked down on him. Gradually, all the 12 cultivators stood on the platform and began to look in different directions, as if feeling something there. The rain was no different from the earth. Our hero stretched out his hand, catching a drop of his hand. The 10th starry sky obviously wanted them to know something in the rain, but he did not understand what it was. Soon after that, on the side of the younger sister of Mila, a stormy star energy broke out. Apparently, it began to use some kind of force to help herself. Lu Yin frowned and looked at Lula, whose eyes sparkled with a golden light, then looked at Zia Lo. He seemed completely ordinary, but clearly immersed in a state. The young man sighed velouds, realizing that if he did nothing, he would remain with nothing. At the next moment, our hero released the technique of the star, surrounding himself with 6 heavenly bodies. This was the result of his intensified training before the trial of the academy. His star palm has also become stronger, but as far as it is, he hasn't known yet. A couple of eyes in the veil of rain, watching 12 new students, seeing Lu Ini, stunned. Why is this technique here? How could someone from the outer universe get it? I wonder if we should watch him. From the moment they passed through the veil of light, their terminals stopped working. None of them knew what sensation caused the test of the 10th starry sky. Over the next 3 days, our hero looked at the raindrops. With the help of the star technique, he managed to see something different. Through the stream of water, he vaguely saw the flashing human figure and what she made stellar energy. The sounds of rain absorbed him with his head, which helped him to feel the clarity of the entire observed picture. The young man was completely immersed in this state and did not notice at all how Michelle opened her eyes and stretched his hand forward, extinguishing a powerful wave of air, which cut down a line in the stream of water. The eyes of the girl happily shone. She hurriedly in the middle of the rain and grabbed the air abruptly, but when she squeezed her palm, she saw the chip. The rest looked with surprise at Michelle, who managed to get the first gift. Lu Yin also broke away from his concentration and looked at the star energy around the girl and then his own. Suddenly, he realized what was going on. Michelle's energy could have depleted the rain, while it was checked by every drop of something. Now the young man understood why the academy offered them to find gifts. It was another test that tested how well each of them owned his stellar energy. Our hero ceased to restrain, freeing all the star energy in his body, and then began to scan every drop of rain. The next step was to reveal the location of the gift. Although everything looked quite simple, but in fact required him maximum concentration. Chapter 109. Shortly after Michelle, Zia Lo received a second gift, which the man was incredibly happy. Hui Bai frowned, and with a cold light in his eyes, even more focused on finding a gift. Deep in the veil of rain, the couple of eyes looked at the girl and the young man with interest. Star energy is the basis of all cultivation. Neither skills nor anything else are as weighty as she is. Those who manage to materialize energy for 3 days can be considered capable, and if someone succeeds in changing it after that, then he will rightly be a genius. Another day passed. A man from the Bai clan suddenly opened his eyes, grabbed something with his hand in the rain, and proudly showed that he received the chip. Almost at the same time, Lulu coped with the test and looked at it. Hui Bai was dissatisfied with the fact that the ant from the outer universe is so arrogantly looking at it. Lulu just liked to tease him, so in response to his gloomy look showed him a fist. A man immediately exploded. "Woman, do you not have to wait to die?" The girl laughed. "Ha, some kind of nothing from the Bai clan." Hui Bai was hilarious. "What did you say? Who are you?" "Lulu Mobius." The man fell silent abruptly and turned away from her, not wanting to contact the Mobius family. Of the 5 gifts, 4 were received, which is why many were no longer in a hurry to look for the rest, but simply watched the district and enjoyed silence. Lu Yin tried to compress stellar energy with the help of the star technique while watching the rain. He wanted to simulate drops of water, but everything was unsuccessful. Whatever he did, there was no way to know how to take control of star energy. After a while, the young man suddenly remembered something. He practiced the technique of the star, which imitated the celestial bodies. But if you think about, where did the stars themselves come from? Our hero was so entangled in what is happening that he forgot about the most important thing. He from the very beginning used already materialized star energy, but he did it incorrectly. Lu Yin opened his eyes and stretched his hand forward. In his palm there was a star that pierced the stream of rain, causing a powerful ripple in space and showing the last chip. However, as soon as he was going to pick him up, an acute aura of the sword appeared from the side. In the palm of the young man immediately flared up another star, which immediately collided with 3 ghost blades who flew to him. The incident occurred so unexpectedly that he managed to materialize only 1 star, the strength of which was not enough to stop the pressure of the 3 swords. In the end, he had to retreat, and the chip in the air was in the hands of Zhao Eilong, a student of the Mount of the Unnoticed Swords. Our hero looked at the guy, but he looked at the chip and did not pay attention to him at all. "Hey, don't you think you've been mean it?" Lu Yin asked coldly. Zhao Ilan turned to him. "If you need him, try to take it." The young man, without unnecessary talk, intended to attack, but at this moment on the north side of the green platform appeared figure. Everyone looked at her. He was a man standing with his back. Its stellar energy swept between them, which shocked the people who felt the presence of the granny sphere in it. The county was swallowed up by silence. The stranger was beautiful. His long hair was slightly wet in the rain, which gave him a certain charm. But then he turned around and said, "Congratulations to all of them. So, where are all the first-year-olds who have passed the test?" Coco replied obediently, "Everything is here." The man was stunned and did not believe her. The younger sister, "Do not I should lie. How many of you? There must be at least 1,000. Zola said hard, "Everyone here, no one else, and you're an undergraduate." The face of the stranger skewed, and then he shouted abruptly, "Cape Guan Yu, have you deceived me? Where are the whole people? Where are the cute freshmen? Where are they all going?" "Shut up. This time the introductory passed only 12 people, that's all." From somewhere above there was a loud voice. The man immediately plunged and grafted. "How could this happen? Did our 10th branch come to this? Only 12 people have been tested, all the estrays." Michelle frowned. "The eldest, please, can go closer to the point." The stranger sighed deeply. He looked as if the crowd ran through him. But when he looked at the girl who turned to him, he immediately cheered up, came to his senses and introduced himself. "My name is Da Pao, but what's your name, the youngest?" Michelle was dissatisfied with his behavior. "The elder, please do not ask too many questions." The rain suddenly intensified, and the sky darkened. "Yes, Pao, if you continue to disgrace us, then you will be punished. I will send you to Dot for a year in the Standard Hope." Shocking, the man hurriedly coughed and spoke in a more serious tone. "Hello again, my name is Da Pao. I am a student of the 10th Star Sky and your undergraduate. I will introduce you to the academy." Saying this, a man winked Mitchell and continued, "We all know that the Starry Heaven Academy is considered the best educational institution in the universe. Our 10th branch has a long history, a lot of treasures of ancient civilizations and excellent places for learning that countless people dream of." "Cinder, we already know this. Let's be more secret," Hui Bai Yi said indifferently. Da Pao dissatisfiedly looked at him. "Junior, do not interrupt, behave politely." Hui snorted angry. "Greater, he's right. Let's get closer to the point," Michelle said for the 3rd time with his impatient bellow voice. Man coughed again. "All right. In our academy there are no special mentors who will be engaged in your training. All of you will be self-taught. The academy has 3 holy places of cultivation: the Infinite Rain platform, the Star Pavilion, and the Desert of Hope. Now we are on the platform of Infinite Rain. It rains around all year round and never stops. This place is most suitable for training to control stellar energy. As for the other 2, you will understand why they are as soon as they get there." Having agreed, Da Pao thought about something and suddenly said, "I will give you a friendly advice. It is best to leave 3 holy places through the arrays of movement. Otherwise, I have no idea how long it will take you to reach the other 2 places." "Cinder, how big is the academy?" asked the curious Coco. The man looked at a sweet and stupid girl, why his heart melted and he smiled broadly. "Very big. The place where we are with you is just the edge of the Infinite Rain platform. The entire platform consists of 10,000 towering trees." 10,000? It's not that much, Coco commented. "Not a lot. And what if I tell you that we are now at the top of one of these trees and all you see around is its branches? What do you think now?" Everyone was shocked, especially Coco, that she covered her mouth and looked into the distance. Are all these trees really just branches? That is, it is not a forest, but a crown of wood. How huge, then, it is, and what are the real size of the entire platform? Lu Yin was amazed at the size of this space, but it was only one of the 3 holy places of cultivation. How big was the academy? In our 10th branch, there is something to see and study. If you do not understand something, you can contact me. I will give you the information. Remember, inside the academy, you cannot communicate with someone from the outside world, but you are allowed to communicate with each other. Now come to me, exchange contacts, suggested Da Pao. Michelle and others did not even move, completely not paying attention to him. The situation became a little awkward. The man lost the gift of speech because it was not so possible to imagine a meeting with the younger ones. Only the sweet Coco was obedient and handed over his contacts to him. Cinder, where are the elders? Hughes asked. Da Pao sluggishly replied, You should have already sent the information. Look for yourself. Our hero and others immediately looked at their personal terminals, where they saw a message from the academy. There was not much information. In fact, the man has already told most of it, but they managed to learn about the Treasure Pavilion, the Border of Trials, and several other places. One of the proposals in the message attracted the attention of Lu Inya the most. If he receives recognition of the Infinite Rain platform or the Desert of Hope, he will be able to receive instruction from the chapters of these places. It's not that the 10th Starry Sky had no mentors, just to get their instruction. It was necessary to earn a confession. The young man did not know whether such a rule existed in the other branches of the academy, but it seemed to him that such an approach was wrong. Michelle frowned and looked at Da Pao again. This is how the 10th Starry of Heaven teaches. In the other 9 branches, there are mentors that they do students. Why is everything different here? Chapter 110. Da Pao was surprised by the girl's knowledge. I don't know, I'm just a student. I only surpass you beauty and skills, but no more. Michelle turned his eyes on him and turned away, worried that he would again talk about the exchange of contacts. The man looked at her and, remembering something, abruptly grabbed the personal terminal, in the screen of which whispered, Mentor Shahai, apparently the rumors are true. 10 judges sent a secret observer here. Must be the girl she is. What are we going to do? I know we don't have any secrets, that's just your education policy. Who's learning, the idiot, may not understand it from the outside. If nothing is done, the Council of 10 Sentences may close the academy. And how to get the approval of the Infinite Rain platform? Asked Lu Yin. It's pretty simple. You need to write your name with stellar energy and then send it beyond the platform, but so that it doesn't collapse, said Da Pao. Zhao Yulan immediately waved his hand. At the tips of his fingers there was a star energy that turned into a long sword, which literally in the air cut out his name, after which the guy pushed him forward. However, after a couple of moments, the name was dissipated, but not because of the rain, but from the loss of control. Michelle commented on in a cold voice. In order to achieve recognition, you need to own stellar energy at a completely different level. It is too cruel to the younger generation. It is not surprising that in the 10th Starry Sky there are no outstanding talents. Your teaching methods are idiotic. Your mentors, apparently, just do not want to teach anyone. The man waved his hand at her, although this girl was beautiful, but at the same time very annoyed. How strong are the mentors of the academy? Asked Coco. Michelle immediately replied. They at least should be in the field of the wig, but most likely even higher. The girl exclaimed, Wow, awesome. The sphere of the lover was owned by the immortal Yueshang, but it was considered strong only in the outside world. So here it is not even necessary to think to understand that the mentors of the academy were much stronger than him. It would be nice if I had such a mentor, Coco muttered. Da Pao laughed. If you fulfill certain conditions, you will be able to become direct students of one of the mentors, from whom you will get powerful combat skills, which is stored in the academy since ancient times. Are there any other conditions? Take this place, for example. To get a confession here, You need to take your name beyond the platform. So, among the gifted masters, sometimes there are real monsters that not only can take the name beyond the platform, but can also leave it there for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. These names form the Rain rating. Anyone who gets into this ranking can become a direct student of the mentor. The group of newcomers was excited. Rain rating. Everyone wanted to leave their name here for tens of thousands of years. Can you see the Rain rating? Zhao Yelong asked. The man replied, It's not, but I've heard anyone who has entered it can see him. Michelle turned face to the edge of the platform, wrote her name with stellar energy, and directed it towards the rain while everyone was watching her. Among all the newcomers, the girl had to be the strongest. She managed to get the first gift, and she knew more about the academy. Its origin also arouses interest in many. The name of Zhao Ilan, one of the strongest masters of the Sergius sphere on the mountless swords, did not move beyond 100 meters, while the name Michelle overcame this mark and moved away quite far, but still dissipated. It's a pity, the name has not even left the tree, said Da Pao. The girl frowned. The others also tried their own strength. Lu Yin was no exception. He used the energy of the 5 celestial bodies. His name covered the mark of 300 meters and dissipated. The name, silver, dissipated somewhere at the level of 500 meters. Zia Lo got closer to the record Michelle, but also could not overcome the limits of this tree. Forget, even after so many years I could not fulfill the condition. There are rumors that there are only 100 people in the Rain rating, although we all have excellent talent, but you need time to push them out, said the undergraduate. Hui Bai-yi was not sure about the other 9 branches, but in the 10th, he was sure that after a while he would be able to enter the Rain rating. Sinolmi, I want to look at the border of the trials, said Lulu, excitedly shaking his fists. Others are also interested in this place. The most desirable in joining the Starry Academy was that she had access to the 9 worlds of testing. There were rumors that there was possible to get ancient combat skills, techniques, pedigrees, and many more. I'm sorry, but you can't just walk into the world of trials. Michelle immediately asked, Why is this? There is a condition. Everyone was shocked at how many conditions were. Is it an academy or what? Not only does she not teach her students, she also limits. What's the condition? Hui Bai-yi asked. Many of you should have heard of the Fighting Kingdom. If you win 100 fights there, you can enter, but only in 6 laps, the man replied with some sympathy. Mila's younger sister was furious. This is nonsense. Yes, I will complain about you on the advice of the 10 sentences. Any student who entered the Academy of Starry Heaven has the right to enter the 9 worlds of trials. Everyone in the universe knows this, so why does your 10th branch break the rules? The Council of the 10 Judgments was the name of the place where 10 judges of the Youth Council were. So this girl had a connection to the top. Yes, Pao was finally convinced that Michelle came here with a test, and it is a pity. As I said, I'm just a student and I don't decide anything here. I can only take you to the mentor of the line of trials. The beauty squirrel snorted. Let's go. No one knew how far the entrance to the test line was, but after walking the man, they got to the array of displacement, and after a couple of moments found themselves in the right place. Brother Zia, what is the Fighting Kingdom? Asked Lu Yin, who had never heard of it. Zia Lo, Meng Yue, and Hughes looked around, after which the man replied. The universe is endless and strange things often appear in it. So one of them is called the cross-border stone. It needs to be touched, and your consciousness will be transferred to the Battle Kingdom, where you will meet your opponent, who also touched a similar stone somewhere. The young man thought, because something similar saw on Earth, but it was used in the gaming industry. Zia Lo continued to tell. The selection of the enemy is not regulated by anything, so in the Battle Kingdom you can meet both the master of the field of the Trackfinder and the heavenly Scatial. There is no justice in this, but I can say for sure that everyone who participates in such is an elite master of the universe. With our current levels, we will be the weakest in the Battle Kingdom. Our hero was surprised that everything was not so easy. From the words of the man, it was clear that all who owned the cross-border stone had great power. Lu Yin gradually began to feel strong pressure, realizing that the further he comes in the path of cultivation, the more often it will be faced with the strongest of this world. While they were talking, the group went to an open, wide meadow. The wicked yellow grass swollen in the wind and radiated a strange radiance against the backdrop of twilight, but it smelled like pleasant freshness. There is a boundary of the tests, as well as the cross-border stone. The teacher is over that fallen tree. Step up to him, and I will come a little later, said Da Pao and left. Near the ground there was a huge tree. It was dry, with many holes and cracks. Michelle first rushed to him, the rest followed her. When everyone went through a big crack and found themselves on the other side, they were immediately attracted by a shining stone nearby. He hovered in the air, and around it was a strange fog, because of which it was difficult to completely see him. This is a cross-border stone. For the first time I see it live, said Xia Lo. Chapter 111. Near the stone sat an ordinary old man with gray hair. Mitchell approached him and said respectfully, I'm Michelle, a member of the Council of 10 Judgments, is glad to meet the mentor of the border of the test. Lu Yin and the others also bowed to the old man. Only He Su and Hui Bai Wai behaved indifferently and did not even look at him. The mentor opened his eyes, but when he opened his mouth, intending to say something, he stalled sharply. Running through the eyes of the students, his muddy eyes focused on the beauty who turned to him. Girl, I'm sorry, I'm old and I hear badly. Please say again. Michelle obediently said, I am Mitchell, a member of the Council of 10 Sentences. I am pleased to meet the mentor of the border of the test. The old man, puzzled, asked, What are 10 sentences? 10 judges of the Youth Council. Who is that? The girl tried to explain to him, and finally he seemed to understand. Ah, Youth Council. Michelle exhaled with relief and nodded. Yes, I'm from there. One of the elders instructed me to watch the 10th starry sky. May I ask you why the students of the 10th branch should win 100 victories in the Battle Kingdom to get into the 9 legendary worlds of trials? Girl, what did you say? Couldn't she repeat it? The old man leaned slightly forward and asked hoarsely. Michelle was amazed and came helplessly closer to him, after which she said to her whole throat, A mentor? I am from the advice of the 10 sentences. One of the judges ordered me to check the 10th branch. I want to know why, to get into the worlds of trials, we need to win 100 victories in the Battle Kingdom. The old man froze for a moment, and then pointed to the cross-border stone. Do you want to get into the Battle Kingdom? The beauty lost the gift of speech. Lulu laughed. Our hero covered his mouth to keep his laugh. Michelle threw a ferocious look at them, then looked helplessly at the old man, not knowing what to do with him. Is he pretending or not? But if so, why? As a result, the girl went to the transboundary stone. At this time, Hui Bai Yi had already entered the Battle Kingdom, and near it stood Zhao Yelan and waited for his turn. Who's inside? Asked Michelle from the guy. That man from the Bai Yi clan. The girl examined the fog around the stone and began to wait quietly. Lu Yin and others also approached the stone. Everyone wanted to fight in the Battle Kingdom. The cross-border stone could be used only by one person at a time, and since in the 10th starry heaven he was only one, then he had to wait. Soon Hui Bai Yi, with an ugly expression, came out of the thick fog. Well lost, didn't she? Said Lula. The man irritatedly snorted on her. Hui Bai Yi, 0 victories and 1 defeat. Suddenly a loud voice sounded, frightening everyone. The people turned around and saw that it was a mentor of the frontier of the test. The already unsightly face of a man became even uglier. He did not seem to like the old man because he had not bowed before, so he announced his defeat. Michelle also looked mean. A mentor obviously was not deaf, since he could shout so loudly. Our hero considered the old man a cunning scoundrel. Zhao Ilan entered the fog around the cross-border stone. But a minute later, The guy came out with a dissatisfied mine. Zhao Ailong, 0 victories and 1 defeat, shouted the mentor. Sister Mila snorted on the old man and headed to the stone. The girl stayed in the battle kingdom a little more than a guy, but also quickly came out. Michelle, 0 victories and 1 defeat. As soon as the beauty came out, Hui Bai was going to enter again, but he was stopped by Zola. Hey, do not get out of the queue. The man in a disparaging tone said, You will just waste the resources of the academy. Get out of the way. Then he went to the stone. The woman was angry and wanted to teach the arrogant, but before she could do something, an invisible attack threw Hui Bai aside. Everyone looked at the mentor, who said in his face, Stick up the queue. The man was very angry, but the old man's attack was elusive for him. He did not even have time to react to her. Zal entered the zone of action of the cross-border stone and soon came out. Evil, 0 victories and 1 defeat, the old man said. Then came Zia Lo. Michelle was interested in his result, as he was the second to get a chip on the Infinite Rain platform. The man came out very quickly and spread his hands. Zia Lo, 0 victories and 1 defeat. Lu Yin was surprised that even a man lost. The fighting in the Battle Kingdom must have been even more difficult than he could have imagined. Hughes, 0 victories and 1 defeat. Hei Su, 1 victory and 1 defeat. The voice of the mentor was somewhat surprised. Apparently he thought that no one among the newcomers will win. Everyone was questioningly staring at the black-haired man, who caused them a feeling of cold and loneliness. All from the sphere of the merger have already visited the Battle Kingdom, and among the guards there was only Zhao Ailong, so then the joyful Lula followed, but she almost immediately went out and, having inflated his lips, complained. Outrageously, came across the Sylvana of the Granny Sphere, and this mockery. Lula Mobius, 0 victories and 1 defeat, said the old man, whose eyes were late for a few seconds to the girl. Meng Yue, 0 victories and 1 defeat. Coco, 0 victories and 1 defeat. Everyone looked at Lu Inya and Silver, because they were left. Silver-haired looked at the young man and showed a hand gesture to the stone. I beg. Our hero quickly passed through the fog. What was on the other side of the fog looked different. If the stone seemed small outside, then it looked big. Approaching it, Lu Yin raised his hand to touch the stone. At the same moment, everything began to be called before him, and a second after it appeared in the teen of the volcano, surrounded by a magma. The Battle Kingdom copied the structure of the human body at the time of contact with the transboundary stone, and then transferred to the visual space of the arena. The arena itself could be anywhere in the desert or volcano, the sky or space. The young man looked at his body curiously. Externally, it was not like it's real. Even the face was darkened, but all his techniques worked properly, which greatly surprised him. Contact with the environment was also no different from reality. At some point, while he looked at the district, a figure with a powerful aura appeared in front of him, which excited the surface of the bubbling magma. Our hero looked at her and was instantly killed. Before leaving the space, he saw not only a dark figure, but also a strange name over her head, Brother Hurricane. Damn it, some newcomer. It's not interesting. My younger brother, I'm sorry. I had to be restrained and not kill you so quickly. You didn't even have time to enter your pseudonym, ha ha ha, laughed Brother Hurricane. The eyes of the young man abruptly opened. He was under the cross-border stone, all in an icy sweat. Literally, for a moment, he thought he was actually dead. His opponent, obviously, was at the level of the heavenly Skatsits, but in what specific sphere it was not clear. After leaving the radius of the stone, the mentor announced, Lu Yin, 0 victories and 1 defeat. No one was surprised by this. On the contrary, if there was another result, then he would have struck them. Then Silver went to the stone. Brother Lu, who have you met? Coco asked. I don't know, but he's definitely at the level of the Skywest. Even worse, I got a Master Granny. Our hero smiled embarrassedly. recalling the words of Zia Lo about the fact that it is too early for them to participate in the battles of the Fighting Kingdom. However, the rules of the academy were really too strict, because in order to get into the worlds of trials, it was necessary to win 100 victories. By the way, what kind of pseudonym did you choose? Lu Yin asked a green-hair friend. Avatars, copied in the Battle Kingdom, could use either the real names of the masters or pseudonyms. I called myself Fun, replied Lulu, crunching his fists. Chapter 112. Lu Yin tried not to laugh at her pseudonym and turned to Coco. What about you? The girl was embarrassed. I called myself an angel. On this behalf, the young man finally fell out. And I took the pseudonym Silver Needle, said Zal. Meng Yue approached them closer to them and turned to our hero. Remember, my pseudonym Forge, if we meet in the Battle Kingdom, I will not let you down. They say that one stone cannot be used by two at once, so we can't physically meet, said Lu Yin. At this point came out Silver Hair with his usual smile. Everyone thought he won, but the old man's words were said the opposite. Silver, 0 victories and 1 defeat. In the end, with the exception of He Su, all the others did not win a single fight. In the Battle Kingdom, they faced not just masters above them in several spheres, but with an elite with amazing talents. Our hero recently reached 6 celestial luminaries of the star technique and was sure that he would easily win such as Gulb, but against the masters in the Battle Kingdom, he had no chance. Hui Bai Yi again entered the cross-border stone, wanting to achieve victory. Most also continued to participate, as for many such battles were new. After several rounds, Lu Yin entered the battlefield under the pseudonym Seven Brother. Why he made such a choice, the young man himself did not know, but for an unknown reason he felt some attachment to it. After a couple of unsuccessful attempts, he faced an opponent of the merger, but he easily defeated him. When our hero ended his 5th fight, the old man shouted, Lu Yin, 0 victories and 5 defeats. The young man decided not to participate in the battles. Now they were useless for him, because the opponents did not even allow him to react. Before he can do something in that space, he needs to increase his strength. However, over the past 5 battles, our hero noticed for himself that the Battle Kingdom was a great place to test its own capabilities and limits. Brother Lu, do you want to eat? Silver called the young man and waved him a skeleton sitting next to the bonfire on which he roasted the juicy meat. Coco, Zal and Lulu were already sitting there and ate. Our hero did not ceremonial, approached, took the skewer and began to eat delicious meat. You have excellent culinary skills, praised the silver-haired Coco. The man smiled. Eat how much will fit, if anything, I will still cook. How many fights have you done? Lu Yin asked. Silver raised the index finger. Just 1. And you, I see, have already fought 5 times. Will you continue? The young man shook his head. The silver-haired threw the hut to the mentor of the boundaries of the test. He took it, and having tasted the meat, said, Not badly, you're good at it, man. I'm glad you liked it, the man whispered. Of course I liked it. It's a good thing they didn't notice Michelle's conversation. Silver deliberately whispered under his nose, but the old man clearly heard it, which means that he had previously mocked the girl. Time was my way. Zhao Ailong, Hughes, Zia Lo and Zala scattered around in search of other interesting places. The silver man also left. Our hero spent 3 days near the cross-border stone. He wanted to know who would be more resistant, a member of the Bai Yi clan or a mysterious black-haired man. Hui Bai Yi, 1 victory and 27 defeats. Shortly thereafter, He Su, 7 wins and 22 defeats. Lu Yin was surprised that it was the mysterious man who was the first among all in the number of victories. Hui stared in shock at He Su, feeling that he was much stronger than him. 7 victories, amazing! A strange guy appeared from our hero, who loudly exclaimed. The young man looked at him puzzled. He also turned to him and nodded. I'm a high school student, Zio Pao. You can call me just Senior Zio. Zio Pao, who are you to Pao? He's my big brother, the boy replied. Both brothers had rather strange names, but Lu Yin did not care. Elder Zio, I have a question. We've been here for 3 days, but we haven't seen any other student. They're all gone. In addition to the mentors, only I and my older brother remained in the whole academy, said Zio Pao, who clearly embarrassed to say it. What? Yeah, have you all gone? Our branch used to be in the inner universe, but when it was sent to the outer one, all the students moved to other academies. No one wanted to move here. The young man did not expect that the position of the 10th branch would be so bad. There is basically no one left here. Our hero talked to the guy for a while and said goodbye. He was interested in what was in the Desert of Hope, which De Pao told. The Desert of Hope is one of the 3 holy places of the 10th branch. Specifically, for what it was needed, he did not know. So far he was only the purpose of the Infinite Rain platform. It must be if stellar energy was tempered on the platform, then the body or combat skills were strengthened in the desert. There were only a few arrays of displacement in the academy, so it was hard to get lost. Lu Yin quickly reached the Desert Hope, being in the sea of yellow sand. It was a real endless desert. He thought she would look something like that. There were even quite frightening sandstorms. The young man did not delve into the desert, only examined it and went to the Star Pavilion. Among the 3 holy places of cultivation, the pavilion was the most mysterious, moreover, called the Star, and this word was the main one in the name of the academy. According to the introductory information they received at their terminals, the Star Pavilion was a place where students could see their past or future, as well as other mysterious things, but our hero believed little in it, although he was intrigued. The Star Pavilion was all wooden and had the shape of an octagonal about 100 meters high, and its roof was flat, exactly the same as that of other buildings, but it was the pavilion that stood out the most among them. When Lu Yin came to his entrance, Zia Lo came out of there. How many fights have you fought in the Fighting Kingdom? The man asked that he left after his first defeat. 5, the young man replied. It's too early for us to challenge the masters of the inner universe. Our hero nodded in agreement and changed the subject. You know Silver. Why are you asking about him? I am not blind, and see that you treat him at all differently than the others. I don't know him, but I don't like his smell. Lu Yin immediately thought of the new League of Mankind, which consisted of the kings of the dead who went through many evolutions, but the silver-haired was not like them, so it was not clear who he was. 2 said nothing more. Zia Lo left, while the young man entered the pavilion. The building inside was ordinary. There was nothing in it that could interest him. Close your eyes, calm down, and call your subconscious. Suddenly, in the ears of our hero, there was a voice. Lu Yin suggested that it was a mentor of Star Pavilion, so he listened to him. It is not known how long it took, but the young man noticed that he entered a special state. He seemed to have slept and at the same time awake. His gaze rushed up, where on the flat ceiling of the pavilion he saw a strange starry sky exuding the ancient aura. Looking closely, he noticed the huge warships sailing on it one by one. They were incredibly large, as if they had no borders. However, suddenly everything was erased, as soon as the jade finger appeared, crushing them all. The heart of our hero was instantly filled with unrestrained anger. How dare you? Lu Yin unwittingly screamed, abruptly coming out of a strange state. Looking at the ceiling, he no longer saw the ships or the jaw finger. Everything disappeared. The boy's eyes trembled. He was confused and suffocating. He had already seen this scene. It was still the same real, and for some reason caused him anger. That's only why and what it was at all, our hero did not understand. Chapter 113. You can go. The Star Pavilion showed you what he thought was necessary, but only you choose between good and evil, cause and effect, as well as the starry sky to which you belong. The young man's ears again heard a voice. Lu Yin raised his head and asked in a respectful tone, Cape, can I see the future here? It all depends on fate. But what do your last words mean? How do I know if I belong to this starry sky? What I saw is not familiar to me at all. the young man said. The answers lie within you. You won't find them. Our hero confusedly left the Star Pavilion. He looked confused because he could not understand what he saw. Why did his gift of heaven and now the Star Pavilion show him this jade finger? Who is he, and for what reason did he feel angry every time he saw him? Entering the 10th starry sky. Lu Yin expected to get answers, but eventually faced with the fact that he felt insignificant. Is he invincible in the field of guard? The most ridiculous nonsense of the century, which could scare only someone in the Diu Empire, but not where he was, and even more so not in the inner universe. This young man was convinced of the Battle Kingdom, although he never encountered an opponent of his level, but this was the reality. You can't hope for justice, or you'll be crushed. Our hero has already experienced the essence of this statement. He didn't forget the humiliation caused by Wendy. She never met him. He would not care if she would cancel the marriage at a personal meeting, but how arguably the girl did it through the subordinate and put him on a mockery in front of the entire outer universe. Having thought about his life and the goals he aspired to, Lu Yin raised his head with a decisive brilliance in his eyes, after which he rushed to the spatial array and went to the Infinite Rain platform. There must have been some reason why they were originally moved to the platform. Perhaps this is where he should start his journey in the 10th branch. The space around the green platform, to which the young man returned, was almost not visible because of the downpour, only towering trees, which were actually branches of a giant tree, sometimes shown in the stream of water. Suddenly our hero, for some reason, felt something familiar. Looking around, he abruptly rushed into the sky and after a few minutes flew out of a large tree. Looking at him from above, Lu Yin was shocked. De Pao did not lie. At the top of each such tree there was a green platform serving as an observation deck. The young man decided to wander around, and 2 hours later found a rather quiet platform, where he sat in the lotus pose and began to observe the rain. At the same time, on the second companion of the immortal continent, Zhang Dinxian wandered with a sword across the sky, cutting the flying star beast. Not bad, you have regained your strength, he praised the man. The wise man Klinkov was calm. His gaze went to the first satellite, then to the imperial capital, and then rushed to the void, where at that time our hero, who entered the 10th starry sky, was located. Brother Zhang, let's practice. I want to see the power of the Grandee Master, excitedly said the man, approaching Zhang Dinxian. The sage took his eyes and squeezed his sword to his sword. Okay. Soon they both stood in front of each other and began the fight. Zhang Dinxian was in the sphere of the Guardian, and the man was at the level of the merger, so the winner was determined quite quickly. It's amazing. Having recovered, you have become even stronger. Now you can be equated with the elite of the Space Hall. No wonder the captain appreciates you so much. The man again praised the sage Klinka. Zhang Dinxian looked at his sword, realizing that his current strength is far from enough. By the way, I heard you know King Zizhen. The man nodded silently. Look, is he really that talented? They say he is invincible in the field of Guardian. I don't know. It's weird. Well, come on, I want to tell you this. If earlier he was considered insignificant, now the position of King Zusheng has changed. In the future he can get into the inner universe, and his empire will not be interested in, just as it happened to the 5th princess. The wise Klinks did not care, because he had his own goals. He swore that he would find Qing Yu and Liu Shaoghe and take revenge. At the same time, on the same second satellite, Bai Zhu, breathing heavily, constantly appeared and disappeared, clearly training the technique of movement. No, and not again, too slowly. This is not a flicker of the void, but some turtle gait. Tao Xiang, dissatisfied, sat on the branch of the peach tree, opened a pack of some snacks and began to greedily eat them. The woman wiped her sweat and looked at the girl. Flickering of the emptiness is my trick. As my personal assistant, you have to be just as fast. Today was supposed to be an ordinary working day for the courtyards of the Imperial Palace, but everything changed due to the appearance of the captain of the 11th Special Detachment. Although, It is worth noting that not only because of him, Shi Ujin was also next to him. This couple was so frightening that it frightened everyone, including the servants. Somewhere near the immortal abode flew a huge spaceship. Susan Sulfuric looked into the porthole, watching the imperial capital shrink in size. He wanted to burst into tears and go in search of Lu In, but was heading with Captain Butson to the 7th star system, and when he returned from there is unknown. In the 10th starry sky on a green stone platform, our hero, without moving, sat for 5 days. All he did was watch the rain. However, now in his eyes was not rain, but a curtain connecting the sky and the earth. Unconsciously entering a special state, its stellar energy began to imitate the rain. That's how it's been 10 more days. Lu Yin quietly observed the flow of water for 15 days and significantly improved control over its stellar energy. It even began to seem to him that he would sit for a whole year, then his control would reach an incredible level, but he could not wait for so much. In a sense, the young man was impatient, otherwise he would not rob people for the sake of obtaining star crystals. He needed to figure out a way to speed up his progress. Breathing, our hero slowly moved the blotting limbs. I have not used the cube for a long time. There are almost no crystals. While he was thinking about how to be, suddenly the reins were hanging in space. The unimaginably oppressive force instantly pressed Lu Yin to the platform, and then he flew down with a fallen tree. The instance of the young man shook from a powerful blow and vomited him with blood. The pupils of our hero expanded. He was on the verge of death, but he had no strength to protect himself. Chapter stop. A loud voice sounded right at the moment when Lu Yin was about to lose consciousness. After that, an old man dressed in rags rushed past him by him. You started this war. You started everything, haha, all this is you. The young man watched the rubbing old man in confusion, but a couple of seconds later fainted. At the moment when he lost consciousness, a mysterious rune flashed on his back, similar to the lock, but she disappeared quite quickly. A middle-aged man came out of emptiness, came to our hero and looked at him with surprise. Is this the seal? Why is his body sealed? Very strange, I have never seen this before and I will not succeed in breaking it. The mad old man he pursued continued to run away, sweeping away giant trees in his way. Lu Yu was badly unlucky to get under the hot hand of a madman, but the good of the mentor Guan Yu helped him. He woke up only a day later. The head of the young man was split, and his eyes were clouded, but the rain helped him to recover faster and understand where he was. Did you wake up? There was a voice behind him. Our hero turned around and saw a middle-aged man. Outwardly, he was not remarkable, but he recognized this voice and guessed that he was a mentor to Guan Yu. Are you a mentor of the academy? Lu Yin asked in a hoarse voice. The man looked at him with a curious look. Yes, you can call me a mentor to Guan Yu. All right. Do you remember what happened? The young man frowned and thought about something for a moment, then turned pale and began to look around, seeing a lot of fallen trees. I saw a mad old man. Guan Yu sighed hard. Ah, Tilda, forget about it. Our hero nodded obediently, without dare to ask unnecessary questions. Before losing consciousness, he vaguely heard the word head. Is he an old man, the dean of the 10th starry heaven? The man waved his hand, throwing Lu Yu chip. Hold. Chapter 114. Our hero gladly took it, suggesting that this gift received by Michelle and others. The mentor, most likely, decided to give him a chip for silence, or it was a kind of compensation. Lu Yin intended to ask something, but Guan Yu instantly disappeared. The young man was a little disappointed, but then inserted the chip into his personal terminal and looked at what it was. As soon as he saw the data, his eyes were anticipated. The records had a lot of information about stellar energy, its changes, and other criteria. At this very moment, our hero understood what path he should choose. Why don't they give it to every student? Lu Yin muttered under his nose, raising a significant problem of training at the academy. According to the records in the chip, Stellar energy goes from the stage of removal of impurities, creating a material form, and then achieving a metamorphosis. For greater efficiency in this process, it is best to use natural crystals, just as with combat skills, and already when the metamorphosis is reached, you can do without them, since it will be possible to mimic natural phenomena on their own. The young man looked at his hand, and stellar energy accumulated in his palm. Without the use of the star technology, the amount of energy was minimal. It is clearly far away from the stage of materialization, not to mention the stage of metamorphosis. After the third stage, there was an even deeper level that allowed the energy to be instilled in its own will and even give it special power. About this fourth stage in the chip was written only one sentence, where there was an expression to recognize only yourself, which very much interested our hero. Star energy is the basis of everything. His current control over it was too slow. Now it is clear why they were all sent first to the Infinite Rain platform. It was here that it was necessary to start training, and after moving to other places. Within a few minutes, the chip crashed. Lu Yin looked around and realized that he wanted to achieve the stage of materialization of stellar energy, but I realized that it would take too long. He also wanted to replenish the reserves of star crystals and use the cube. He was looking forward to the 3, which has never fallen out, but hoped that he would not fall out for a long time. Remembering in which direction was the array of displacement, the young man rushed to him. Hiding in the torrential rain, the mentor of Guan Yu watched him and pondered. I have never seen the seal on his body. It is high class and very complex. Even like the masters of the inner universe is difficult to do. In addition to the 3 holy places of cultivation, in the 10th starry of heaven there was still a place called the Pavilion of Treasures. It was there that our hero went. De Pao told them that the pavilion, in addition to collecting various treasures, also gave tasks to students. Lu Yin wanted to get stellar crystals as soon as possible, and for this first, you will have to fulfill the mission. The treasure pavilion was large and beautiful, worthy of its name. At this point, Hui Bei Yi was at his door, apparently already leaving the building. Out of the road, the man said in a contemptuous manner at the moment when our hero passed by him. In the eyes of the young man flashed an ice shine, but he decided not to waste time on an idiot. Ho, another newcomer, the 7th student, what do you need? A thin old man inside the pavilion nearby stood. Lu Yin was surprised by his appearance, especially a beard, which was in the shape of an 8 and seemed to be living its life. In addition, in the eyes of the old woman shone a cunning light, which caused concern. Are you a mentor of the treasure pavilion? The old man twisted his twisted mustache and replied, Student, do you want to buy a treasure or do some task? Can I see the treasure? Asked the young man. The old man waved his hand, when suddenly there was a bright transparent wall in front of him, where there were many different divisions. Here everything that we have, you can look. Our hero looked interested in the transparent wall of the golden shade, on which there were many things: armor, medicines, books, weapons, and even spaceships. After a while, the wall disappeared and the old man again waved his hand, forming another, where there were no more objects, but tasks. If you want to get some object in the treasure pavilion, first you need to perform the task and earn deposit points for it. What do you think you're interested in? And what tasks are suitable for the sphere of the guard? Lu Yin asked. The old man twisted his mustache, thinking about something, and a minute later said, Everyone who decides to give tasks to the 10th branch is a large force from different parts of the universe. Their tasks are not easy, even if only the master of the guardian sphere requires. You'll be lucky if you can do something. Here, please look. The young man looked at the bright wall, where the tasks on the orders of the old man lined up under his demand. The first task was to win 3 consecutive victories in the Battle Kingdom. The award is the Aurora spacecraft and 10,000 cubic meters of stellar crystals. Our hero was surprised. Only 3 victories in a row. The old man nodded. Yeah, all of all, but the complexity of this task is incredible, so the award is generous. Lu Yin laughed bitterly, realizing that not only 3 victories in a row, even just 3 victories for him will be difficult to make. Apparently, that's why Hui Bai Yi and came out of the pavilion so annoyed. To find the legendary sprouts of purple orchid on the Star of Wood escapes. Fulfill the territorial test. The Enchantress. The Enchantress. The Enchantress. For a whole year, not to say a word. The Enchantress. Help the Space Shipping Company, ZLO, to decompose waste. The award is 1/3 of the cost of decomposed materials. The tasks were a whole bunch. There were even strange ones, such as not to pronounce a single word for a whole year. The young man carefully examined them all and suddenly noticed that very often he had his eyes tasks, where a certain Chero worker was needed. Not realizing what he was talking about, he asked, "Mention, but who is a character?" The old man looked at him questioningly. "Have you ever heard of them?" Our hero shook his head. "Young people today do not want to know anything, even who is a charmer. I'm too lazy to explain, find it all out." Lu Yin was not upset, raised his hand and pointed to the task. "I will do this." The old man looked at the mission. "The company ZLOH is our old ally. Look, don't embarrass the academy when you do the task." The young man smiled embarrassed and thought to himself, "With my cube and his ability to decompose, I will be able to perform such a task once or twice. Well, now I will be given out the task. There will be all the necessary information, but immediately I say, you will have to get there yourself," the old man said. Soon our hero received information at his personal terminal. There was also the location of the company ZLO. If you fly there from the 10th starry of heaven, it will take 2 days to go. Fortunately, he was given a starship in the treasure pavilion, so it will be easy to get to the right place. "Look, don't lose the ship, otherwise you'll have to pay the fine," the old man warned. Lu Yin nodded, climbed into the starship and soon flew into outer space. The location of the 10th starry heaven was hidden, so when he got into a dark space and looked around, he saw nothing behind. Such a huge academy was completely invisible, as if it did not exist at all. After more than half a month, the young man left the academy for the first time, but now as a student. Meanwhile, at the array of movement of the desert, Naged Coco looked at the vast desert in fear and said, "Brother Xiaopao, I don't like it here." The guy laughed, "But this is the most suitable place to awaken your potential." "I'm not really in a hurry with this," the girl said hurriedly. "Then I wish you good luck in the upcoming first-year competition," said Xiaopao. Coco was surprised. "Competition of freshmen? Does there be something like that?" "Of course, you will have a competition, according to the results of which will determine your status in the academy. The strongest will be rewarded, and the weakest will be punished." "When will it be?" The guy shrugged his shoulders. "I don't know, maybe in a few days, maybe months. It all depends on the mood of the mentors, but I will guarantee you, the weakest will be punished for sure." The girl wanted to cry because she thought she was the weakest. What to do? "Teaching more," Xiaopao laughed. In the dark starry sky flashed a fast starship. 2 days later, a dark yellow planet and a space station appeared in Luin. This place was a kind of planet landing, controlled by the company ZLO. The ship of the young man quickly received permission to land. Leaving the ship, a middle-aged fat man appeared in front of our hero, that he looked at him with a good-natured smile. "Welcome to the space station of the company ZLO. I'm the manager of the company. My name is Ake." The young man nodded. "I am Lu Yin." Chapter 115. "Student Lu, let me show you the surrounding area." The fat man was delighted to get to know the student of such a prestigious academy. In addition, the young man had an ancient surname Lu, which rarely met at the usual time. Lu Yin looked around. The county was not particularly pleasant, especially because of a pile of circling debris that disgusted. He didn't want to stay in that place. "Design Ake, don't take me to the task," the young man asked directly. "Okay, please go to my ship." Both sat down in a large starship and left the space station. heading to some area closest to the planet. Student Lu, this planet constantly throws away caustic gas. It is not suitable for life, so our company purchased it for garbage storage. See the various broken ships and other junk everywhere. Here we analyze all this into details, rework and send unnecessary to the planet, where the junk is oxidized until it disappears. The man briefly explained the activities of the company ZLO. Our hero calmly watched the yellow dark planet, which may have once been habitable and even a civilization developed on it, but now it was like a giant dump. In hundreds of thousands of years, this planet will cease to exist. Next to the trash circling around the planet, sometimes there were groups of people in spacesuits. All of them were slaves bought by the company on some primitive planets. If he did not protect the Earth, its cultivators would have been sent to the battlefields, and ordinary people would have become such slaves workers and would have been engaged in black work all day until death. "Student Lu, what kind of splitter are you used to use?" asked Manager Ake. There was too much garbage in the universe, a significant part of which appeared as a result of human activities. However, its processing was carried out by various companies, thereby saving on certain materials. In a word, it was effective and useful for everyone. As for how the junk was recycled, everything is simple. For this, they used a device called a cleavage. Lu Yin studied them for the last 2 days. The cleavages were of 2 species. Some could use ordinary people, and others only cultivators. The former needed natural stones as a source of energy, and the latter used stellar energy. However, both types worked the same way, dismantling objects on components under the influence of energy. "I don't need a splitter," said the young man. The Torby was surprised. "Student Lu, what did you say?" "I'll choose a quiet place, and I don't need a splitter." Manager Ake thought, then nodded and ordered the demolition of the ship. Half an hour later, they were near a big pile of junk. "Student Lu, here we have not yet started work, so there are no workers here. You can work and not worry about anything." Our hero put on a special semi-light spacesuit and came out. The surrounding gas was quite acustorous, and even a special suit did not completely protect against it. But it was dangerous only to ordinary people, but so easily smelled unpleasant. "Do you need anything else?" he asked. Lu Yin waved his hand. "Nothing else is needed. How I'm done, I'll call you." The fat man nodded and immediately flew away. After flying away, Ake through the personal terminal scored someone's number. The director, a student, arrived here. He did not take a splitter. Apparently, he somehow disassembles things with his stellar energy, or he has a special gift of heaven. Most likely, the gift of heaven, because only the characters are able to break down objects with the help of stellar energy. But no one, having such skills, will not take up such a task. A female voice was heard from the terminal of the man. The Thicker nodded and finished the call. Meanwhile, our hero rose above the big mountain of trash, looked around and realized that earlier this pile was a large spaceship. "Okay, it's time to start. I hope that I will immediately fall out a deuce." With these words, the young man called a cube. His gift was radiating a foggy starlight. Now it did not need to be fed with stellar crystals, as over the past time he regained his energy on its own. Nervously looking at the cube, Lu Yin folded his hands in the boat and looked up, as if someone was praying. After that, he touched the cube and he quickly twisted, after a moment stopping with the figure 1. Almost at the same time, a sword that the young man picked up came out of it. The blade was good and suited for the fusion master, but our hero was not a swordsman, so he was useless to him. Lu Yin then took out the cubic meter of crystals from the ring and nourished his gift with energy, and then activated it again. Fortunately, he had a number 2, and a black vortex appeared under the cube, similar to a black hole. The young man was incredibly pleased, because he was afraid to spend the remnants of his star crystals to obtain the ability to decomposition. Now he could use them to extend the time of the black hole. 1 cubic meter extended the time for 160 minutes, which was twice as much as in the spatial room, and since he had 18 cubes left, it was possible to use the ability at least all day. Now it's up to the small. our hero muttered and began to rake all the rubbish towards the black hole. Filling the hole to the limit, he had to wait about 2 hours so that she would complete the decomposition of trash into many unknown materials. Remembering his past experiments with the ability, Lu Yin guessed that if you put these materials back into a hole, it would be possible to get even more valuable things, but having thought, he did not do it. He just needed to rework this rubbish to get a reward for the task. The day flew by unnoticed. The young man spent him at work, dismantling not only the mountain before which he stopped, but also a lot of other bunches of garbage. I wonder how much money I can get out of it, our hero thought. Soon, Ake's manager received a notification from him and quickly rushed to him. At the moment when the fat man saw a huge bunch of recycled materials, he began to wipe his eyes from unbelief. How could you do so much in a day? Yes, a detachment of cultivators with the best splitters cannot cope with this, and in a month. The effectiveness of one student was too astonishing. For a while, the man looked at Lu Yin as if God. The young man coughed. Well, that's enough. The toothbrush nodded hurriedly. Of course, you did not just complete the task but exceeded it. But how did you do it? Ake thought that the guy brought a whole bunch of already recycled materials with him, otherwise how to explain it. On the one hand, the man did not care, because his company received great benefits, but curiosity did not give him peace. Our hero changed the subject. Please count with me. Manager Ake hastily asked the subordinate to pay Lu in, and he went to report to the director, who was responsible for the company's affairs in the Blue Wave sector. Impossible. A student would not be able to do this, unless he has a charming, festive voice. Maybe then I'll find out from him. No, he still won't tell you, or he'll say he's a magician, even though it's clearly not. Just pay him and do it. What about the payment? How do I count it? Pay him with a surcharge. I understand, the man replied, and the call was over. After that, he returned and personally handed the young man a supplement. In the end, the earnings of our hero amounted to more than 3 billion space coins. Lu Yin was pleased with this, although he understood that if you use those materials in industry, the final benefit will be at least 100 billion. The company ZLO, of course, earns a lot of money from unnecessary garbage. When the young man thought about the amounts that were in this area, he felt jealous. So much money was received by only one of the not largest companies in the outer universe. It's even hard to imagine how much the companies of the inner universe earned, let alone the Mobius Bank. When the chapters will be released, as well as other information you can find out in my Telegram channel https://t/me/Ra the Fawn. Chapter 116. He owns the money of the bank Mobius. Then the space of time could be maintained forever. Student Lu, this is your whole reward. Ake's manager once again recalculated the amount and handed the young man a white card to the Mobius Bank. It has 3,002 million space coins. I advise you to exchange them for star crystals. Why? Surprised our hero. Most trade transactions in the inner universe are carried out using stellar crystals. Space coins are not always convenient to carry with you, especially in such volumes. The money you earned is enough to get 3,200 cubic meters of stellar crystals. Lu Yin nodded, inwardly feeling the excitement of the herd of the number of stellar crystals that he earned. He even felt that this work was most suitable for him, because he had almost no need to do anything. Seeing the happy face of the young man, the man again thought that he probably really brought with him some of the processed materials, but what is the point? It hardly earned much in mind. He may have wanted to complete the assignment of the academy, but is it so important? Student Lu, do you want to continue working or go back to the academy, if you decide to stay? The cost of your work will be the same, said the fat man. Our hero shook his head. No, I'll go back to the academy. I see. On the way back, Lu Yin considered the unprocessed rubble of trash, but for him, they looked like real treasures that could be exchanged for a large amount of money. Deuter Ake, if I want to work from you, I definitely need a task from the academy, or can I just come to you at any time? The man smiled. The average cultivator would have to pass the test, but since you are from the 10th star heaven and showed yourself this time, I will gladly accept you at any time. Only write to me in advance. Here, by the way, is my number. Our hero exchanged contacts with the manager and thanked him. The fat man hesitated and asked insecurely, "You seem to be in the sphere of the Guardian, but your skills in controlling the star energy are superior to the ordinary masters of the Granny sphere, right?" "Not exactly so. It's just that my gift of heaven can process materials." "Gender of heaven?" asked Ake. The man was not sure whether he told the truth, but if it is, then his company could not miss such a nugget. There are many gifts in the universe, but the one who was with a guy was very suitable for the profession of a charitable worker. "Student Lou, and your gift, he is an exotic kind." The young man looked at the fat man thoughtfully. He realized that he had asked an inappropriate question and hurriedly apologized. "I'm sorry, I'm not going into my own business." "It's okay. But since your gift is useful for decomposing objects, then you have the potential to become a charmer," the man said with envy. Our hero suddenly remembered this notable term. "Manager Ake, and you have already met them." "I would like, but the people of this profession are so great that it is difficult to meet with them, even to the director of our branch in the Blue Wave sector." Liu Yin aberrantsfully nodded. Then something pressed on his terminal, and in front of it there was well-known information about the Chera workers. This was called a rather honorable profession in the universe, the main task of which was to perfectly master the star energy. The universe has been for many years, and it has not stopped for a second in its development. Because of this, various treasures appeared here and there. Some were openly available, but some had many different prohibition barriers. This protection could be destroyed by force, but in this case what was inside was certainly destroyed. Faced with such a dilemma, after a while the inhabitants of the universe found another solution. The master responsible for removing the barriers, which consisted entirely of powerful stellar energy, the layer was getting rid of the annoying protection. The very name of the character came due to the fact that such masters, we can say, removed special charms from objects. It was their main work. Each barrier was a complex plexus of stellar energy, so the character was required to have excellent control over it, as well as sharp intelligence and perseverance. For this reason, and the demands for whoever wanted to become one were incredibly high, beyond the imagination of an ordinary person. Therefore, the characters had a high status in the universe. There were also rumors that many powerful fighting skills, techniques and technologies that have remained since ancient times were obtained, only thanks to the abilities of the Chera workers. Our hero was in mild shock. He did not expect that there was such a profession in the universe. On the one hand, it seemed worthless. Well, what is so difficult to control the stellar energy? That's only how this could only think of some amateur, and sensible people never questioned the importance of the character worker profession. "Student Lou, we have arrived at the space station," the man said. The boy came out of the ship and said goodbye to the fat man. "Thank you for the hospitality, I leave you." "It's thankful, be sure to come again. Quiet way to you." "Thank you." After leaving the station on his starship, Liu Yin went in search of the nearest bank Mobius. For one mission, the young man managed to earn more than 3,000 cubic meters of stellar crystals. He never had such a sum. First, as soon as he got into the 10th branch, it seemed to him that the academy would not be useful, but now he has changed his mind. Such tasks were given only to them, which was a kind of advantage. Our hero went all day to get to the nearest bank Mobius. For staying at most space stations and planets in the universe had to pay, but with the current state of Liu Yin, it was a mere trifle. The planet on which he landed was quite large and resembled the capital of the Diu Empire. The young man did not linger and immediately entered the Bank of Mobius, where he exchanged almost all the space coins, having received 3,200 more than a cubic meter of crystals. In order not to be left without money at all, he decided to leave 2 million coins. After leaving the bank, Our hero looked at the branches that they were sticking out of the tree-like building, on which the space coins hung, when he suddenly remembered the black crystal map that he had previously stolen a cube. He assumed that she had the protection that allowed her to withdraw money only to the owner, but since he was near the bank of the Mobius, why not try his luck? After thinking about it, Lu Yin returned to the bank and tried to withdraw money from the card. Surprisingly, he succeeded. It turns out that the map was just the name and had no protection. But how is it possible? Did he finally smile luck? The young man hurriedly checked the balance of the card. It had as many as 12,000 star crystals. That's where he was blown up with joy. Without doing anything, he received 4 times more crystals than for the Academy's mission. Our hero immediately took all the crystals, but faced a new problem. His space ring was not roommate enough, so he proudly allowed himself to buy a better ring for 1,000 stellar crystals. After all this, with overwhelmed joy, Lu Yin left the bank. However, outside he became uncomfortable, because with this amount on hand, you can easily attract the attention of bandits. The young man tried not to linger, quickly reached his starship and left the planet, heading back to the Academy. 2 days later, he returned to the 10th branch intact. At the same time, somewhere in the distant stellar space, a huge meteorite crashed into the ground, but did not stop even for a moment, continuing to fly forward. On this meteorite in the palace sat a man who opened his eyes sharply that they were like 2 black holes. Send someone to the human star region of the outer universe of the Blue Wave sector and find someone who dares to steal my things. I want him to pay for theft. Yes, sir. Chapter 117. In the pavilion of the treasures of the 10th branch, the bearded old man looked at Lu Yin. The boy asked, "Is something wrong?" The old man smiled strangely. "We both know that everything is so, especially when the other side confirmed the task, so you should not hide anything." Our hero did not understand him at all. What to hide? The mentor noticed that the young man pretended that he did not understand what he did, so he was angrily saying, "During the day not only fulfilled, but exceeded the task, why did you build a fool of yourself, asking about the clericals when you myself are? Only someone like, possessing excellent control of stellar energy, could fulfill the mission in such a short time. Okay, the hell are you gonna do some more task?" Lu Yin did not pay attention to his words, took the award in the form of a small sum of stellar crystals, and immediately left. In the 10th branch, there was no hostel or anything similar for students, so our hero returned to the space station of the Academy. He guessed that there were no mentors here, so no one would follow him. On the task from the company, Zlo Lu Yin used his cube twice, which means that it still left 3 times before he will go on a weekly recovery. He hoped he could get something else behind the remaining attempts. Having waved his hand, a cube appeared in front of the young man. He threw a cubic meter of crystals into it and pointed his finger at him. At the moment when the gift was repulsive like Julia, the breath of our hero increased. As a result, the number 2 fell. Now the decomposition for him was useless, so Lu Yin again filled the cube and launched it. The next 5 fell, but even here he was unlucky, because even if he knew who could have copied the gift, he simply would not have had time to get to a person in 10 seconds in this huge academy. The last attempt remained. The young man was not on his own, because what could happen to him most did not want. Having stuck his finger in the cub, the 5 changed. 6. His fears came to happen. Remembering what it was like when the 6 absorbed all its star crystals, our hero felt trembling in his hands. He had more of them now. Will it happen again? Before he managed to do something, the cube released a terrifyingly powerful absorbent force. Lu Yin watched with his own eyes how 10,000 cubic meters of stellar crystals flew out of his ring and disappeared in a cube. After the crystals disappeared, the counties changed dramatically in front of it. He appeared in an unknown dark space, but found himself there not with his physical body, but as if he moved in a consciousness that looked like a ball of light. Being completely perplexed, the young man headed forward and soon began to meet around him like lights, which differed in size. At the same time, Information about the ability hidden under the six of our hero burst into the head of our hero. She allowed him to enter the body of another person, thereby obtaining his memories and temporary control over the physical membrane. However, the cost of the faculty was huge. 10,000 was only the initial amount that opened access to a limited number of lights. Looking around the balls of light, Lu Yin did not fully understand whether there was any benefit in this. But suddenly he felt the power of absorption again. The young man realized that if he did not choose a ball of light now, then the six will eat all the crystals, and this he did not want. Our hero did not doubt anymore and rushed directly to the largest ball of light from all I saw. He assumed that the brighter and more the light, the stronger his master was. But having become close to him, Lu Yin sharply felt the unbearable heat. Not realizing what was the reason for this reaction, he humbly chose a small ball of light and merged with it, but at the same time all its stellar crystals were absorbed. Among the dim space, the beauty shouted anxiously, "Dalai, wake up, Dalai." Where am I?" Our hero listened to the voice ringing in his ears, opened his eyes, and was hilarious. "Dalai, thank God you'd wake up." The girl was very worried, but she was happy that her friend had recovered. Lu Yin was confused. What's the fuck up? Wait, the cube gave him a pole, and then he merged with someone's consciousness. It turns out that's the name of this person. "What's the matter with you?" asked the beauty, because the guy did not respond or react to it. The young man shook his head. So much information about this person merged into his consciousness, which caused dizziness in his mind. Only when he finally recovered, he was able to look at the girl. "I'm fine." The girl exhaled, lingering. "You scared me to death." "Aya, I'm hungry. Can you buy me something easy?" "All right, stay here, I'm fast." Lu Yin followed the girl leaving, and then began to examine himself. Now he is temporarily Dolly, but as far as he was aware of. Raising his hand, the young man felt the previously unprecedented force for him. This guy turned out to be a master of the sphere of Granny. In addition, what pleased our hero even more is the level of control of the star energy of the Dalai. He has already reached the stage of metamorphosis. The guy was a famous genius in his homeland and planned to try to enter the service of one of the special detachments of the Diu Empire. Who would have known that he would merge with a man from the 13th star system, which was at the very edge of the blue wave sector? I wonder if he was washing more crystals, then could merge with someone from the inner universe. The star energy in the palm of Lu, an eye squeezed and gradually turned from invisible to tangible, and then changed into a powerful flame. He did not expect that the metamorphosis stage would be like this. Moreover, the fact that she owned a guy who was not even 40 was very surprised. Probably this was the most important talent of Dalai. In this he was a genius. For example, if you take two masters with the same skills and spheres, then whoever better controls the star energy will be much stronger. It is a pity that this guy did not have any special combat skills. He only knew what was public. In addition, he had personal problems, such as the lack of support for a strong family, the inability to earn money, and even the fear of moving to a new level of relationship with his girlfriend. Dalai was a perfect example of the fact that the genius of a certain path in other things can be a real profane. "Ah!" From the side there was a ringing exclamation. The young man hurriedly got out of the ground and ran towards a familiar voice. In the distance, Aya fell to the ground. It seems to have lost consciousness. At the same time, a group of people came out of the shadows. The leader of the group, a young guy with a smug smile, called our hero. Dalai have not seen each other for a long time. Lu Yin from the memory of Dalai learned shouts. His name was Ramos. He was the son of the strongest man on this planet and envied the talent of the guy, the other day trying to bribe him, so that he gave him his place for the exam in the special detachment, but Dalai refused, not assuming that it would come to him sideways. "Ramos, you have already received my answer. Let Aya go," the young man said in a cold tone. "I give you my last chance, give you my participation. I am ready to give you a better life and pass on the excellent combat skills that you will never get without support." Our hero only now understood why Dalai did not have any good skills. It turns out that he was constantly interfered with all this time, so he used only public appliances. In addition, he could not even leave this planet. I don't agree, Lu Yin refused. Ramos shrugged. What kind of fool? Do you really think that you can attract the attention of 13 special detachments of the Imperial Court? I'll tell you so. Now everyone is concerned only by masters who entered the Starry Sky Academy with King Zusheng, so even if I kill you, no one will ask anything. As soon as these words were heard, the Master Granny Masters standing behind the guy attacked the young man. Our hero deftly dodged their fall by the flickering of the void, moving high into the sky, but since he was not accustomed to this body, he almost fell back to the ground. Boom! In the place where Lu Yin was just standing, a funnel from the powerful combat skill of one of the masters was formed. Having hung in the sky, the young man shot with pure stellar energy, aptly hitting a middle-aged man and thereby throwing him away. That's how strong the metamorphosis stage was. Only one stellar energy, Dalai could withstand combat skills. At the same time, other masters surrounded our hero, but Lu Yin again took advantage of the flickering of the void. The young man appeared behind one of the opponents, squeezed the star energy and directed it to the enemy. The master hurriedly dodged from the sharp energy, which eventually hit the ground, leaving a wide trail. Their battle was supposed to involve the army, but it did not appear. Ramos must have prepared everything. The guy had to die today. He was not going to let Dalai go from the very beginning, even if he had agreed to help, because he wanted to see in the eyes of genius regret and despair. Our hero laughed loudly and complained about the lucky one. The guy was lucky he took possession of his body, otherwise he would have met his death. Dalai, and your little girlfriend looks appetizing. Ramos' voice came from the ground that he approached Aya, squatted and touched her face. Chapter 118. In the chest of Lu Yin broke out fierce anger caused by the emotions of Dalai. Don't worry, I'll help you deal with it, the young man said to himself and immediately disappeared. A group of people saw where our hero rushed, so chorus shouted, Master, more careful. Lu Yin appeared right behind Ramos and grabbed him by the hair. The guy was only in the sphere of the merger. He could not resist. Dalai, let me go now, or my father will give you a heavenly life. The young man grinned. He's not Dalai, he doesn't care. Then there's nothing to lose, you can die peacefully. Ramos shook of fear. He didn't believe the guy would dare to kill him. Our hero threw the guy over his shoulder, and that flat hit the ground. Feeling a lot of pain all over the body, Ramos realized that he was actually going to kill him. Stop it, let go of the young master. The cultivators shouted, but they were more afraid to come. Lu Yin pressed something on his personal terminal, and a couple of moments after him, there was a hologram of a very beautiful woman. When the men and Ramos saw her, everyone turned pale abruptly, because she was Leoin Zishan, the captain of the 13th Special Detachment. The young man encountered her for the first time. Who would have thought it would happen in the guise of Dalai? Who are you? The woman asked. Hello, Captain Leoin Zishan. My name is Dalai. I have asked King Zishan to contact you, our hero replied. The guy's face turned pale. Where does he know from King Zusheng? The woman was also surprised by this. What is it? Lu Yin told her everything he thought was necessary. Leoin Zishan looked at Ramos and the others. I see, I'll figure it out. Then the call was over. The young man was pleased with her answer. The reason why he called her was not only to deal with the guy's situation, but also that he wanted to check her attitude to the Zishan family. She didn't just take that surname. In addition, a great subordinate would come out of the Dale, so he killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Our hero let the guy go and turned his gaze at a group of masters. At this point, the men were afraid to even look at him, because the one who was able to directly contact Captain Leoin was not even to the teeth of Ramos' father. Lu Yin picked up Ayu and left. He felt the power of absorption, so before leaving, he decided to help the guy in some other way. When he got to the lawn near the river, where the cool breeze was blowing, the girl came to her senses and looked at it confusedly. Dalai. The young man lifted her head and suddenly kissed her. The eyes of the beauty expanded from shock. After a few seconds, their lips broke off and our hero said for the guy, "Aya, I love you." With tears in her eyes, the girl looked at him incredulously, and then suddenly hugged and exclaimed, "I also love you too." Lu Yin patted Aya on his back. At this point, the force of absorption became even stronger. Gradually, and his eyes began to darken, and eventually he left. Before leaving, the young man pushed Dalai's body forward to the girl, deciding to help him consolidate the achievement with his love. He did this in gratitude for helping him achieve a new stage of control over stellar energy. And in the future, they will definitely see it, that's for sure. The next moment, the consciousness of our hero returned to his native body. The first thing he did when he came back was whether he really managed to master the stage of metamorphosis. Of course, he did not yet fix it, but only imitated it, but after a couple of attempts, he succeeded. Many used natural crystals to practice combat skills, but having reached the stage of metamorphosis, the cultists ceased to need them, since at this level the master could independently mimic flames, air, and other elements with his own star energy. Lu Yin was delighted with his results. After a little practice, he mastered what many took several years to practice in such a short time. After that, the young man decided to check how many crystals he had left. He was pleased with his achievement and agreed to pay 10,000 cubic meters of stellar crystals for it, but he hoped that his gift had not taken everything. But it was empty. Our hero lost the gift of speech. The cost of crystals on the 6th capacity of the cube was colossal. But he only a couple of days ago managed to feel like a rich man. Sighing hard and getting up from the ground, Lu Yin resigned himself to the loss. At least the compensation was worthwhile. Michelle entered the Infinite Rain platform as soon as she completed the task of the academy. She took the mission and left the territory of the educational institution, but did it specifically to report on the situation in the 10th branch of the Council of the 10 Sentences. The girl believed that due to the way they taught in the academy, the 10th branch had no right to own the entrance to 3 areas and 6 paths. However, it is not for her to decide, so, having reported, she returned to the academy, intending to collect even more necessary information. Drops of rain hit on the barefoot snow-white legs of Michelle, bringing notes of coolness. She calmly looked at the veil of water, quietly studying the movements of stellar energy. In the distance at this time flew a figure. The girl was attracted to her and saw that it was one of the first-year-olds of the Guardian. Although it was commendable to enter the 10th branch, but a person from the inner universe could not be surprised by this. Our hero was heading to a green stone platform to practice, but found that someone was already standing there. He had no choice but to take a place next door. There, having begun practice, he once again became convinced that his perception of stellar energy has improved significantly. 5 days later, Lu Yin raised his hand and released a stream of stellar energy that resembled a silk ribbon. This ribbon soared into the sky and shaped his name, and then headed forward. It coincided that, at the moment when his name began to break through the flow of water, the name Michelle also came nearby. The young man and girl were separated by a distance equal to a large tree, but when their names began to break through the rain, then for some reason they were very close to each other. Lu Yin. Mitchell. Both names lined up in one row and rushed into the distance. At first, the beauty was not the same. She believed that the name of the young man would disappear. However, time passed, and it did not disappear. Even when her own name was on the verge of destruction, the name of our hero remained unchanged. At this point, the girl with a surprised facial expression looked into the distance where Lu Yin was sitting. The result of the young man struck not only her, but also the mentor of Guan Yu, who carefully watched their competition. The boys were not only a couple of days. How did he have managed to achieve such a result? The metamorphosis stage. None of the first-year students have it. It develops too fast. Our hero calmly watched his name fly away to himself, thinking about himself that his level of ownership of star energy should be enough for him to get to the rain rating. In the end, the name of Lu Yin flew somewhere in the distance, leaving behind the destroyed word Mitchell. The girl's control over energy was close to the metamorphosis stage, but was inferior to the current result of the young man. Under the dark blue sky and continuous rain, three watched the word Lu Yin until it dispersed. Our hero understood with grief that although his current success was amazing, he was still not experienced. He needed more practice. Then he will be able to conquer the infinite rain platform. After thinking about it, Lu Yin focused on training. Michelle looked in his direction, thought of something, and headed towards him. The young man trained in a concentrated way when the girl was next to him. The smell immediately hit our hero in the nose, embodied it from his thoughts. Turning, he looked into the eyes of Michelle and admitted to himself that she was really beautiful. The girl was accustomed to this look, so she did not pay attention at all and asked, "How did you do it?" "I did what?" Lu Yin was puzzled. "How did you achieve the metamorphosis stage?" The young man waved his hand, surrounding himself with a lot of small lights. "It's quite simple, what is it?" Michelle frowned. "I remember you barely found a gift provided by the Academy, and now you say that you own the stage of metamorphosis." Our hero shrugged his shoulders. "Why did you decide that I did not own it then? I'm just used to being discreet. Why do I sneak up like some hui bai? The girl did not believe him, but could not do anything. "If you do not want to tell, then forget." With these words, she turned around, intending to leave. Chapter 119. Looking at the girl's seductive back, Lu Yin suddenly said, "I've heard that you're connected with the advice of the 10 sentences. Can I tell you who 10 judges are?" Michelle replied, "You have no right to know." Then she disappeared. The young man was not angry, realizing that the identities of 10 judges were covered with a secret, which can only be solved by having a certain status or force. Michelle, flying in the sky, thought about what happened to our hero. She was sure that he did not own the metamorphosis stage before, but the guy could not master this level in such a short time. Then, it turns out, he told the truth that he did not initially show all his abilities. Lu Yin stayed on the Infinite Rain platform for 10 days, every 3 days trying to bring his name beyond the rain. With his new abilities, he could keep the stellar energy in the state he needed for a long time, but that was not enough. Apparently, he still missed something. It must be all about perception. He controlled the star energy, following the perception of Dalai, but he had to master his own. It was the young man who spent more than 10 days on. In the early morning of the 12th day, our hero raised his hand, formed his name from stellar energy, and directed it to the veil of rain. This time he was sure he would succeed. The name of Lu Yin easily overcame the farthest point reached earlier, then finally left the Infinite Rain platform before it was destroyed. The young man stood up, rejoicing at his success, because now he could be recognized by the mentor of Guan Yu. At the same time, a strange feeling appeared inside him. It told him that he had finally reached an opportunity to break into the sphere of the merger. A moment in front of him, there was a middle-aged man. Our hero bowed. The student welcomes the mentor. Guan Yu looked at Lu Inya with admiration. "For a month, your control over stellar energy has undergone tremendous progress. Now you can be called a genius with confidence." "Thank you for the praise," the young man replied. In the rules of the 10th branch, there is such a point that having received the recognition of the Infinite Rain platform, you can ask the mentor to choose a combat skill. Our hero thought about the tempting proposal of a man, realizing that any skill of the Academy was incredibly powerful. But he already had enough skills, and collecting even more did not make any sense. Moreover, he did not believe that something could surpass the technique of the star. Thinking in this vein, Lu Yin seriously said, "Cape, can you help me better understand my own skills?" Guan Yu nodded. "Okay, I will help." The young man sighed deeply and looked in front of him, and then sharply raised his hand and struck her forward. The three streams sequentially hit space with three waves of stellar energy and dissipated. After analyzing his skills, our hero suggested that the Zvezdan technique was too complicated. It is unlikely that a mentor will be able to help improve it. The Fist of the White Knight was better not to show, and the heavenly beast could still be learned in the space hall, so it was only to increase the level of skill of the three streams, which had explosive damage, but began not to keep up with its progress. Guan Yu considered the blow of Lu Yin and said, "This skill combines both physical strength and stellar energy. Once in the inner universe, I encountered a master who has a similar skill, but in it he reached a striking level. Okay, I'll help you improve his understanding." Having agreed, the man struck with his hand in the palm of the young man, which he had previously put forward to demonstrate the three streams. With a strange light sound, our hero with his palm felt the power of the mentor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lu Yin was surprised. It was already 6 streams. "I have shown a suitable skill limit to your level. The rest requires the granny sphere," said Guan Yu, and took his hand aside, letting forward 3 more waves that shook the surrounding space. The young man was stunned, because he with his own eyes just saw the 9 streams, demonstrated by the mentor. In the outer universe, there are several similar techniques of exertion of force, but specifically this 9 layers can be used only in the granny neighborhood, so that for you there is a limit of 6. Look, don't risk it. The man warned and went away, disappearing in the stream of rain. Our hero plunged slightly aside, where Guan Yu went, and then thought about whether he really was in the field of the lover. There were rumors that all the mentors of the academy were at this level, but is it possible to improve the skill of the 3 streams in 9? He remembered the words of Tianmina. He said that the 9 streams were the skill of the protected ether sector, but probably such a skill could have been in the blue wave sector, right? Maybe a man already knew him, or is he really much higher than the field of the lover? In the mind of Lu Yin, doubts flashed, but he quickly threw away unnecessary thoughts. It is too early for him to score his head like that. It is better to focus on the skill of 9 stream. Since he had a Zvezda technique, and he saw with his own eyes a demonstration of the skill of Guan Yuum, it will not be difficult to master him. In addition, he could use only 6 streams, as the mentor warned him that 9 had been intended for Granny Sfesi masters. After a few days, the young man successfully performed the skill of 6 streams, amazed at his strength. But at the same time, looking at his bloody palm, he understood his most important disadvantage. 6 streams are already above my limit, but it's okay. This skill can be used at a critical moment, which will surprise any opponent. Resting, our hero suddenly came the idea, and is it possible to transform the skill of flows and the star palm? He had already thought about it before, but somehow his hands did not come to try. If he manages to impose at least 3 flows, the power of the star palm will increase several times. The more Lu Yin thought about it, the more excited he felt. Wanting to try, he called the celestial bodies and squeezed the star energy. However, when the young man was already going to strike, Guan Yu immediately appeared next to him, who grabbed his hand and shouted, "You are an idiot. Without a hand you want to stay." Our hero was frightened. "Mentor." Seeing that the skill is neutralized, the man let Lu Yin's hand away and seriously asked, "You just wanted to strengthen one skill with others?" "Yes." "Do you want to die ahead of time? The ignorant fusion of 2 skills will only hurt you. The more powerful the skill, the fewer opportunities to strengthen it. Otherwise, any fool could release several attacks at a time. The possibility of merging several skills has long been recognized as the highest skill that units are capable of," the clearly angry Guan Yu said. The boy was already thinking about it, but was too thirsty, so he did. There were a lot of geniuses like you, that they also wanted to combine a few skills or change some, complementing it with a part of the other, but they all ended up deplorably. Any powerful combat skill has a unique style, which the younger ones simply cannot. Our hero hastened his gratitude. "Thank you for the instruction. I want you to remember something else. Strengthening skills in the short term will increase their combat power, but the more often you use this, the more harm you will cause your body. Yes, mentor. Lu Yin bowed again as a sign of gratitude. Guan Yu was glad that the younger one listens to him, and not as it usually happens. Calming down, he looked at his palm. Your first skill that speculated stars is quite interesting. The young man was wary. Have you seen him before? No, but he made me feel strange. How many stars can you control? Our hero did not evade the answer, because in the 10th branch, where there were almost no students, it was very difficult to hide something from the eyes of mentors. So far, only 6. Not much. Most likely, this skill has a limit of 9 stars. Yes, I think then it will reach perfection. Perfection? What do you mean? Guan Yu waved his hand. Perfection is a special level of understanding of any skill. In fact, everything you use now can be considered as the initial level, and only when you overcome it, the level of perfection will go away. Chapter 120. Lu Yin looked at a man with hope. Cape, can you help me master 9 stars? Guan Yu replied indifferently. You'll get into the rain rating, then yes, and in the meantime walk. When the mentor turned around and disappeared. The young man was excited. The incomplete technique of the star allowed him to control 8 stars, but to master the 9th, it was necessary to get it another part. If Guan Yu had helped him reach 9 stars, he would dance with happiness, although he still had doubts about whether he would be able to do it. After all, the technique was very mysterious and powerful. To get into the rain rating, you need to print your name in the space of the infinite rain platform, but with my current strength it is impossible. It is worth trying already in the sphere of the merger, said our hero, after which he decided that it was time to test your strength in the Battle Kingdom. After he left, standing in the middle of the rain, the mentor muttered, the technique that controls the heavenly bodies must belong to a very strong character, haha. Meanwhile, from the fog of cross-border stone with a diaper look came out Meng Yue. The old man who was sitting nearby shouted, Man Yue, 83 defeats. When the young man heard it, his mood fell below the baseboard. Zhao Ailong, standing next to the stone, entered as soon as he saw Meng Yue, but a couple of seconds later came out. Zhao Ailong, 1 victory and 58 defeats. At this point, Lu Yin came here. He was very surprised that the guy managed to defeat someone. Still, it was very difficult to meet an equal opponent in the Battle Kingdom, and even then not a fact that you will win. At the moment, there are only 3 of them near the cross-border stone. Seeing the young man, Meng Yue immediately inflamed combat intent. Lu Yin, let's fight. Our hero laughed. What, you did not have enough in the fighting kingdom? The guy shouted, Are you afraid? Wait, I want to fight first in the Battle Kingdom. Meng Yue nodded and sat down on the ground. Since then, few of the newcomers have fought in the Battle Kingdom. Previously, Meng Yue trained in the Hope Desert, but even having made good progress there, it was not enough. He lost 83 battles in a row, which upset him. The guy decided to let Lu Yin fight because he wanted to see what results he managed to achieve. By the way, who won the most? Asked our hero. He Su, he has 13 victories and 47 defeats. He even managed to win 4 matches in a row, Meng Yue replied with envy. The young man nodded and entered the space of the stone. Zhao Ailong was still on Lu Yin, so he left. Michelle came later. Her successes were as follows: 6 victories and 29 defeats. She came here to try out her new strength, but saw the back of our hero and stood silently near the cross-border stone. The last time a young man fought in the Battle Kingdom, he lost 5 fights in a row. Although now he has become stronger, but I did not think that it will change something much, because even those like Michelle and He Su lost a lot. He only hoped that he would be lucky to win 3 fights in a row to receive a reward in a treasure pavilion. Touching the stone, it was abruptly transferred to the space where the sounds of raging waves were heard around. Looking around, Lu Yin realized that he was over the sea. So far, it is unusual to be like this in different places, the young man muttered, as suddenly he noticed a figure heading to him. from the power of which the surrounding water simply began to boil. Feeling enemy star energy, our hero seemed as if he was on a boat in the middle of a strong storm and at any time could turn over. "This is the power," said Lu Yin to himself, realizing that he could not win this fight. In a moment, after the enemy struck him a powerful blow. Not wanting to surrender without a fight, the young man used the technique of the star and saw the trajectory of the attack, but even so he realized that he could not avoid it. It remains only to block. Our hero did not hesitate to raise his hand and release the power of the 6 streams. Boom! For a moment, he managed to stop the enemy's strike, but in the end he was cut into pieces and was defeated. The master of the sphere of Granny was surprised. How was the trifle of the guardian's sphere to delay my attack? Damn, I'm bumping on monsters every time more and more often. Lu Yin, 6 defeats. The voice of the old man sounded as soon as the young man came out. Our hero, with a frustrated view, passed past Michelle. The girl ignored him and immediately entered the zone of the transfrontal stone. Meng Yue immediately called Lu in. "Let's start." "You're not my opponent," said the young man. The guy snorted coldly. "How do you know if we haven't even fought? That's it, I'm attacking." As soon as Meng Yue was going to rush into the attack, the invisible force crushed him to the ground. The mentor sitting next to him threatened, "Contacts are forbidden here." Our hero was still on the guy. He was expecting Michelle to come out. The girl, with a calm appearance, came out a minute later. "Michelle, 6 victories and 30 defeats." The beauty did not leave after the defeat, but got up near the stone. Since the old man continued to hold Meng Yue, Lu Yin decided to try his luck in the Battle Kingdom again. This time he appeared on a huge platform of gravel, where he was already waiting for the enemy, which stood on the opposite side of the arena. The young man was pleasantly surprised, because his rival was in the sphere of the guard. The chance to meet someone with the same level of cultivation was very small. Maybe it is his opportunity to get the first victory. In a distant, unfamiliar starry sky in a clearing in the middle of a gloomy forest, the transboundary stone flaunted. Near him, there were many masters that they looked with expectation at the guy who had an arm attached his hand to him. Hart has already won 1 or 2 victories. Perhaps today he will fulfill the highest task at the level of the Guardian in the Academy, one of the masters said. It is true, he is the only one who can win 3 consecutive victories in the Battle Kingdom at the level of the Guard, because he is still from the family of Busa, blessed by the sacred bird phoenix. Even if he gets a strong master of the merger, he has a chance to win. The main thing is that it is not someone from the Granny sphere. If he can perform the highest task of the Starry Academy, then our 5th branch will become even more famous. In the arena from the gravel, the guy was amazed, because he did not expect that after 2 victories in a row he would be given an opponent of the Guardian. What kind of luck should you have? Heart of Busa, read our hero the name over the head of his opponent. He knew it wasn't a nickname, but a real name. Apparently the guy was very confident since he decided to use it. Boom. At the next moment, both rushed into the attack at the same time. The palm of Lu and I turned into a ghostly claw, which released 20 stages of the celestial claw of the beast. Anyone who participated in the battles of the fighting was talented, and it would be too stupid to underestimate such an opponent, so the young man decided to use everything he owned. Hart raised his hand, before which formed a huge ball of flame, who burned the animal's claw. Our hero was amazed and immediately guessed that his rival owned a fiery gift of heaven. The heat emanating from the fireball was unbearable. Such a temperature would be difficult to withstand even the master of the Union. Having leveled the blow of Lu in, the guy with a roar rushed into the frontal. He was sure that at the level of the guard, he had no equal, and also believed in the invincibility of the power of his pedigree. From the impact of high temperature, the platform began to melt like a chocolate in the sun. The young man dodged the enemy with the flickering of the void, but he was quite fast, so almost immediately overtook him. Having exchanged from a dozen blows, our hero had only to defend himself. He felt the power of the enemy and did not know what to do with it. Hart, in turn, was amazed that his opponent still confronts him. Few guardians were capable of it, but it was time to end with it. The guy stopped, slapped his hands, and at the same moment the space was engulfed by the loud phoenix cry. When he squeezed his palm, a fiery bird escaped from his hands. The temperature emanating from it was so high that it curved the space itself. Lu Yin tried to dodge again, but the bird was faster. In desperation, the young man hit her with 6 flows. Immediately, the enormous air pressure blew away the flames and the bird, forcing the Hart standing behind in confusion. Our hero pulled off the burned hand and looked at his opponent. The boy's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Someone in the Guardian's field was able to stop his combat skill. Lu Yin did not let the opponent to take a breath. He took the lead, again attacking with 6 streams. Hart jumped up a block of flames. Bak, boo, ba. There were 6 continuous explosions. The scene of gravel was completely destroyed, so both fighters had to rise to the sky, where they again faced each other with powerful attacks.